Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 o'clock, Thursday, July 19th, and time for the regular meeting of the Rancho Mirage City Council. This also includes the Library and Observatory Board, Housing Authority Board, and the City Council representing the Redevelopment Successor Agency. So if you would please stand and join me or join our Councilman Weil in the salute to our flag.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Please join me in pledging allegiance to our wonderful country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ted. Are we a little loud on the mic? Turn that down just, thank you. Okay, Johnny, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, Councilmember Hobart,
Here.
Councilmember Townsend,
Here.
Councilmember Weil,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smotrich, and Mayor Kite.
Here, thank you. Now we'll move on to presentations, and we have a presentation by Carol Magner, founder of Arts Place Sanctuary, Pet Sanctuary. Is Carol here? Okay. Carol, good morning, good afternoon.
Councilman Townsend will appreciate the fact that I did story time this morning. It's a preschool story time. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. City Manager, and all the city staff for the honor of speaking to you this afternoon. My name is Carol Magder, and I'm the Executive Director of Ari Had a Dream. It's a 501c3 federally registered animal welfare charity. Ari's Place is a project of Ari Had a Dream. Ari was born on May the 3rd, 1983. He died April 27th, 2012. He died in his sleep from pneumonia. He was 28 years old. He was my son, and Ari's Place is his legacy. Ari's Place is an exciting, new, unique service that's very, very different and is an excellent option available to our senior citizens and our military. Ari's basic philosophy was every animal deserves to live a long, happy, and healthy life. Got this clicker here. Look at this picture, and we see a loving doggy daddy with his best friend enjoying a really special moment. Everything looks wonderful. But according to our medical director, Dr. Robert Reed at VCA Rancho Mirage, things are not always as carefree as they seem. Many senior owners are worrying constantly about what's going to happen to their beloved pet should something happen to them, instead of enjoying their time together. The Care for Life program is a desperately needed program that provides lifelong care when an elderly owner can no longer provide that care and there's no other responsible person able to look after the dog. These dogs reside happily in a cage-free environment. They have access to their doggy house, to the outside, to private rest areas at will. Anytime that they want, there's plenty of people around, and they have lots of company, canine and human. There's supervision 24/7, so that they have nighttime security, and that's provided by a former police officer who resides on campus with his canine partner. Where are we? Okay, where are we? 5-2. All right, here we go. Every senior citizen, any citizen, any person, can prepare in advance for the welfare of their pet in the future. If you see your estate planner or your lawyer, they can make the provisions, and you will have a choice. The animal can either stay at the sanctuary for the rest of its life with us, Or we can attempt to rehome it with a loving new forever family. Or it can be fostered by a senior who has lost their own pet and is currently without the companionship. Nobody, no matter what their age, is too old to be without the companionship of a pet. As a military daughter and a military mom, I am really wanting to help the military. We have Veterans Day, we have Memorial Day, and those are very important to honor our military dead. But what about the military active duty now? We can help them with sometimes a very devastating choice that they have to make. When they go on deployment and there's no family or no responsible friends, what do they do with their pet? And we've all heard the horror stories of military that have left their pets with people whom they thought were responsible and came back to no pet. We'll care for their pets in the combat, when they're deployed to a combat zone. We'll send letters and pictures, and we can even Skype if it's available. There we are. There's our Military Mutts program, and the picture on the left is unfortunately saying goodbye for now, and the one on the right is when you come home. What a great feeling for all of us to see that kind of a picture. And we're serving them while they are serving us. This is an aerial view of our 5-acre campus in Sky Valley. It shows the house, which is the L-shaped building. It shows a pool, you can see it just to the right, which can serve as a therapy pool for older dogs. And then the other building is currently a garage, but we are building onto it, we are refurbishing it, and it is going to be the doggy house. It will have little individual doggy bedrooms. It will have a common area out in front of the bedrooms where there will be human furniture, doggy furniture, we'll all get together, TV, we can watch Animal Planet or do whatever we want. The dogs will have free access all the time, in and out as they will. These are just some pictures of the house that's on the campus. And this is a first pass drawing of the garage area, which will be the doggy house. The doggy bedrooms are on the right there, with individual doggy doors outside to have the dogs access to nighttime potty. And they will be fully enclosed because our friends the coyotes are wandering around there. So it will be fenced and it will be covered on top as well. Over to the left is your common area where everybody will socialize. And at the back is an ADA bathroom. We're also very lucky to have an excellent, wonderful landscape architect who believes passionately in our mission and has agreed to help us develop a beautiful, unique park-like setting outside throughout the property. So the dogs will have various textures, various levels, various activities to keep them busy all the time. We've worked so hard on this project and so long. But we believe that over time we can reduce the number of dogs ending up in overcrowded shelters and rescues. Shelters and rescues try to do their best, they really do, and there are some wonderful rescues in the Coachella Valley. But they are overcrowded, and the types of dogs that they see could come to us under our guidelines. We hope that we can serve as a model for other communities so that there will be more chances like this available to senior citizens and military. We'll be approaching other cities in the Coachella Valley to contribute to various parts of the project. I chose to approach Rancho Mirage first because I live here and I work here, so it's my city. Rancho Mirage is a leader in providing unique, wonderful services for its residents. And we are certainly a unique service in Rancho Mirage as well, and in the whole Coachella Valley. We hope that Rancho Mirage will lead the other cities in supporting Ari's Place so we can provide this vital service to the residents of Rancho Mirage. I want to thank you for your time and your attention, and a special thank you to Councilwoman Iris Muttrich for her kind direction and support of our seniors and our military. Thank you.
Carol,
Yes.
how can somebody get in touch with you if they would like more information on arts?
They can go to the website, and it is www.arisplace.org. And my personal phone number is on there, and there is email, there's snail mail, there's everything. Plus, I could take a whole week here talking to you, but the information is on the website.
Okay. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to non-agenda public comments. This is an opportunity of the public to speak on issues that are not on the agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. So we have a couple of applications or a couple of forms that have been submitted for speaking. So the first one is Jay Wilson. And would you give your name, address?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Jay Wilson. I have an issue briefing of the... this is my first time at this forum, so I didn't know exactly the protocol. But my name is Jay Wilson. I am the president of the Colony Homeowners Association. Here today because of some ongoing concerns that we have. The colony, for those of you who don't know, is on Gerald Ford. There's 220 homes. I know some of you have been there. The colony has been purchased by a national conglomerate, which goes by the name of Hometown America. They have 58 home communities in 11 states. This is a trend with mobile home communities where they're going into these national conglomerates. We expect to see more of that in the future. With that change, we are seeing a change from the mom and pops mentality that we dealt with, business people in the community, to a big business mentality where they are looking at profit taking without any regard to the maintenance or how the property is kept. I'm sorry that Steve Quintanilla could not be here today. We've been working with him, and he has been excellent. But we're basically in a situation where the community is falling apart from lack of maintenance. And the result have been staffing cuts, reduction in services, infrastructure, the roads are falling apart, landscaping has matured to the point that it's dying, clubhouse is outdated, and there's areas that can't even be cleaned anymore. They're in such bad shape. Air conditioning frequently doesn't work in the clubhouse. It's not wheelchair accessible to some of the places. So we have reached out to the park owner. I think I mentioned they're in Chicago. We're only going to get from these new owners what we kind of force them to give us. Just a drive down Gerald Ford will let you know. I mean, it used to be when you drove past the colony, it kind of looked like the rest of the community, and it's a nice area. It now looks very shoddy. Over the past few months, we have been meeting with Steve Quintanilla. He has assembled a task force. We appreciate his efforts. I'm sorry he's not here today. He has promised us that he is going to schedule another meeting here within the next few days. And we also understand that the Mobile Home Fair Practices Commission will be meeting in August. I'm here today to thank you for your support and for your concern, and let you know that that's where we are, and we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you, Jay. I'm sure Steve will get back to you on the future dates.
We spoke with him yesterday, so we're in good shape.
Okay, good. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, next individual is Brad Anderson. Brad?
Thank you, Brad Anderson, Rancho Mirage, Ferber Drive. First thing, I have a few items I want to bring up today with you. Mr. Edward Grace, a longtime Palm Springs resident and lately of Desert Hot Springs, passed away in May, and his family's going to hold a gathering of a celebration of life for him at Billy Reed's in North Palm Springs this Saturday at 10:30. I know he's well known in the valley. Just wanted to get that word out for the family. And another thing, that's a great organization. Not that I know anything about it, but I'm actually in the process of looking for caregivers for my dogs, just in case something happens. And I've looked around too, and the ones I've located they wanted roughly a donation of $10,000 per animal, but I think it's worth it if you really love your animals. So, and a side note, this last Sunday I lost one of my dogs, and I only had him for 10 months, and it was an older dog, about 16, and I just hope people, if you want a short-term commitment, get an old dog, but it'll bring a lot of love into your house, so I suggest you do that. So anyway, what I'm here today about is the Coachella Valley Mosquito Vector Control District again. You probably are aware of the West Nile virus that was detected in Indian Wells and Palm Desert, and they got the Aedes aegypti species located throughout Palm Springs and in Indio and Mecca too. And you may not be aware, but they're going to do aerial sprayings for West Nile and SLE down in North Shore and Mecca this weekend. And I think that's the norm now, that we do these aerial sprayings when they're really not necessary. It's more of a public relations aspect of the job, just to show that we're doing something. And I know the technicians, they need to get the technicians on the ground and combat this. It's an aquatic insect, and aerial spraying is great to knock them down or knock the disease factor, or the potential disease, to mitigate that anyway. But I know the Vector District has a lot of issues, and I would like, hopefully, that the city looks into some of those. And I know you have a representative, Mr. Michael Moore, I believe, and I think he's doing a great job. But I think we need to put a little, investigate a little more on that district. It's like Mr. Ed Grace commented, empire building, and that's kind of what's going on now. And I don't know if everybody's aware, but July 10th, they did raise the assessment of the district. So they actually increased everybody's property taxes in the valley. And I know it's mainly going to a reserve fund. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Dana.
Before you leave, I just want to compliment you. You have set a record I have observed for years. People who take in older dogs. I don't know of anybody who can beat 9 months of an older dog's life, but I really want to compliment you on doing that, taking a dog who was 16 years old,
Right.
and bringing him into your house and taking care of him and giving him a good life for the balance of the time he had. That's truly an impressive thing. And
Well, thank you very much. I know there's a lot of people like me that will make that commitment, and I have the time and effort to do that, and it's unforgettable. It's a great thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Is there anybody else in the audience who has not completed a form that would like to speak on an item today that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll now move on to City Council and board member comments. And I'll start down to my left. Charlie, you have any comments for today?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that, Richard. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the loss of a tremendous American actor, pop singer, film producer, and author. Tab Hunter passed away in Santa Barbara on Sunday, July 8th, just 3 days shy of his 87th birthday. Tab appeared in over 40 films and was a well-known Hollywood star, heartthrob of the 1950s and 60s, known for his golden blonde California surfer boy looks. We were fortunate to have Tab as one of our fantastic speakers during the recent Rancho Mirage Speakers Series. If you attended that event, you understand what a wonderful and engaging person Tab was. He starred in many television shows and films, including the Academy Award-nominated Damn Yankees. Multi-talented, Tab also enjoyed a very successful recording career that culminated with one of the top records in the rock and roll era. His recording of Young Love became #1 on the music charts worldwide. It remained there for 6 weeks. Tab was also a best-selling author. His recently published autobiography, Tab Hunter Confidential, became a national bestseller and generated critical praise from the New York Times, Washington Post, Variety, Entertainment Weekly, New York Post, Good Morning America, Larry King Live, CBS Sunday Morning, and dozens more. In his book, Tab explains of being a Hollywood heartthrob while secretly being gay. I just wanted to say that after the event was over and we met with him backstage in the green room, that being with this man, he was so thrilled to have been received in Rancho Mirage with what a wonderful, warm welcome that we all gave him. And the reason I wanted to talk about this right now was this was his last public appearance, and he didn't know how he was going to be received. And I will say that Rancho Mirage of the Coachella Valley really gave him a warm send-off, but he was very, very heartfelt and very grateful. So, to Tab Hunter, thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. I think everybody recognized that performance as one of the best events we had last year, and so thanks for bringing that information together.
Thank you, Richard.
Dana, do you have anything?
Nothing today, thank you.
Okay. Iris?
I do. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And good afternoon, everyone. I would like to just speak for a few moments about something that I think is extremely important, and I think everyone has unfortunately experienced this to some extent. And that is cyber terrorism, either by telephone, by text, by emails, and there are a variety of ways where people are approached. There's a process, it's called phishing, and it's not with an F, it's with a PH. And it can be done by individuals, it can be done by companies, and it can be done by countries. And if you've ever been hacked, if your identity has been hacked, or you've had your credit ruined, then you know how bad it really can be, and it really feels like terrorism. We can only tell people over and over again to be very, very careful. And now that we're in summer and people are at home more often, they're more inclined to answer their telephones. And you should know that when you say hello the second time, that's when you are put into the system. And someone will come on the telephone and be speaking to you to either tell you something or to give you bad news about something or to ask for money in some way. The most familiar one that I think most of us hear about is the granny phone calls. And that's where a young voice answers on the phone when you answer and says, "Grandma, Grandpa, is that you?" And you, of course, say, if you do have grandchildren, "Yes, that's me." And they ask for money. They ask for credit cards to be sent to them. And they want it done immediately. Very often they'll tell you that they're in jail or they're stranded somewhere and they need to have your help immediately. And the scariest thing about this is that it's very, very convincing. They will make threats as far as liens on your property, as far as taxes you may not have paid, about jury duty where you may not have shown up, about utilities that you did not pay. They impersonate law enforcement, and they impersonate the court system. So there's all kinds of threats, and for someone who is unsuspecting, it is very frightening, especially when you are threatened with an arrest or a lien against your property. So keep in mind that when you say hello the second time, be prepared that you might have a voice on the other side trying to take your money and trying to take advantage of you. I know we've all been trained since childhood to be mannerly and be polite, but nowadays it's really okay just to hang up on somebody that you don't know who is trying to sell you something you don't want. It's okay to screen your calls to find out who is actually calling you and protect yourself any way you can. A very popular one is the bank account call, which says they are your banker and your account has been locked due to a fraudulent activity. If you hear this and you're suspicious, don't hesitate to hang up. And if you get it by email or by text, delete it and call your bank immediately. Just to let you know, the IRS does not make phone calls. If they need you, they will send you something in the mail, and they never ask for prepaid debit cards or a wire transfer. So be very, very careful. I know you're going to be getting a lot of calls just like we do, and now we even get phone calls on our cell phone, and they call me by name, and it's really quite disquieting to say the least. So we don't want you to fall victim. We want you to be careful. If you're concerned that your identity might have been compromised, please don't hesitate to call or email or look on the website of identitytheft.com. That is identitytheft.com. Always think twice before you click on a website that you're not familiar with or a name that you're not familiar with. Delete the email as quickly as possible, and if needed, call the party that you think might be involved as far as a bank or a credit union or whatever it might be, and just verify who that call might be from. So be careful, have a wonderful summer, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. Ted.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, members of the Rancho Mirage Police Department participated in Coffee with a Cop. We do this periodically. It's a terrific event. The public was invited to join representatives from the Rancho Mirage Police Department at Gelson's Market to discuss community issues and to get to know the fine people that keep our city safe. Lieutenant Shields was joined by Sergeant Schiavone, Deputies Bizanos, Calkins, Henson, and Lloyd, and Officer Mix. Mayor Kite and I, along with City Manager Isaiah Hagerman, joined the group. This was just one of many ways that our fantastic police department engages our community. Public safety is critical to our city. At the present time, we have Lieutenant Shields and Sergeant Schiavone here. Would you please stand for a moment, gentlemen, so we can recognize you and thank you for your service. Thanks so much. As a matter of fact, Sergeant Schiavone mentioned to me before the meeting, a short time ago, that as a result of having coffee with the cops last week, he was asked a question by somebody there and said, would you mind coming by my house? I'd like you to give me an inspection as far as the security is concerned. And he did that. And that shows the extent to which our law enforcement goes. It's not just patrolling the streets. They are a face, they are friendly, and they're there to protect us. They do just a marvelous job. The police are frankly at our Rancho Mirage events, including the Art Affair, Music in the Park series, the Rancho Mirage Wine and Food Festival, to name a few. Their presence is everywhere. We take great pride in the service provided by the police department, as the safety of our community is of utmost importance. To further strengthen our already fantastic level of public safety, the city has recently added 2 additional deputies and a burglary suppression unit. These new deputies will increase presence and visibility of police throughout the community. The addition of these deputies will bring the ratio of deputies per resident in Rancho Mirage to 1 per 585. The commonly accepted ratio is 1 deputy per 1,000 residents. Again, this is another example of the degree to which Rancho Mirage goes in order to provide public safety. And it also measures a degree to which we go to do good for our community. Our financial position is extremely stable, and people talk about the reserve that we have. This is one of the reasons we have this reserve. We do it so that we can protect you, our residents, so that we can make donations, as we did at the last meeting, to the Palm Springs Unified School District to start a program regarding the cannabis situation, educating children, and as we did, making a contribution to the largest employer in our city, the Eisenhower Medical Center. So we're just pleased to be able to do all of those things. Coffee with the Cops was terrific. We thank you, law enforcement, and we thank the city for participating. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ted. I think looking at the turnout for that coffee really shows the interest of our residents, and on top of that shows the interest in our sheriffs and how many of them turned out. It was a great event. One last comment, and this is about live streams. They've begun their 6th annual 9 Cities Blood Challenge Drive. This is a great opportunity to not only represent the city of Rancho Mirage, but to reach the ultimate goal of giving the gift of life. Did you know every 2 seconds someone in the U.S. needs blood? And a single donation can save up to 3 lives. So it's important that we all do our part. The Rancho Mirage Library and Observatory hosted a blood drive yesterday, and I want to thank you all for those of you who did participate. It was great seeing so many people answer the call for such an important need within our community. If you were unable to make yesterday's event, there is still time. You can donate at Livestream's La Quinta Donor Center located at 79215 Corporate Center Drive until the end of the month. To ensure your donation is credited to Rancho Mirage, be sure to say, I want my donation credited to 9CRM. And we look forward to seeing you one more time if you have not given any blood up to this point. So that's the end of the comments from the council, and we'll now move on to the approval of the minutes. We have 2 minutes to approve.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Yeah. Yes.
Councilmember Hobart, did you vote? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Johnny. We'll now move on to the consent calendar, and this is yes, sir.
That was for approving the minutes of June 20th. We're also being asked to approve the minutes of June 21.
Yes.
Have we done that? I didn't hear if we did it.
Pardon me?
Have we done that?
No, that was the vote that just took place
For both of them?
for both of them.
Okay.
Okay? Who made the motion on that?
I did.
Okay, Ted.
And I second it.
You-
I second it.
Do you want me to reiterate, Mr. Mayor, that it was motioned for both sets of minutes?
Oh, did you move that both of them be approved?
Yes.
Okay, then we're good.
And I
We're good,
second it.
Dana. In the second.
Great.
Okay, we will now move on to the consent calendar, and Isaiah, our city manager, will do the presentation. Isaiah?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. There are 7 items on your consent calendar today. Item number 1 is the waiving of the full reading of all ordinances introduced or adopted pursuant to this agenda. Item number 2 is the second reading of an ordinance for new rules and regulations for the city dog park. Item number 3 on the agenda is consideration of a resolution approving a site lease for the city's radio antenna. This is the radio system that we use internally at the city. So our public works staff, our code staff, our emergency preparedness, and our citizens on patrol all use this radio system. This is an annual lease that the city enters into every year, and it is the current existing site where our antenna is located. Item number 4 is the final acceptance of traffic signal wire upgrades for CP 17-337. And Jason, if we could bring up the pictures of what this project is. So what you see on the screen is, on the left-hand side is what this box looked like before the work was done. And then the picture on the right is what it looks like after these wire upgrades are performed. Again, more before and after pictures of what these projects do. This has been an ongoing project for the city to upgrade all the wiring in our traffic signals, and there is one left to do, which has been programmed and budgeted in the current fiscal year budget, and that project will come before the council at a later date. Item number 5 is the final acceptance of our traffic signal pole painting, CP 17-338. And again, Jason, if we could bring up the photo. So our traffic signal poles are on a 7-year rotation cycle, whereby every traffic signal pole is painted once every 7 years. So we stagger them through the years. And here's some before and afters. And this is just another way that we help keep our city beautiful. Thank you, Jason. Item number 6 are our contracts. We have 3 contracts on today's agenda, one for janitorial services, one for the speaker series, and one for some public safety equipment. And item number 7 are our demands, and staff is here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Isaiah. Any questions from council?
Nope.
Any questions from the audience? Okay. Can we please have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Isaiah. I will now move on to the public hearings and item 8, which is an extension of time for tentative truck map 36621, which is 9 single-family residential lots on the east side of Via Josefina, just north of Ginger Rogers alignment. And I see Joy up on the dais to present this. Joy is a member of the planning staff.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you. The following request is for a 1-year extension of time for tentative tract map number 36621, which includes the subdivision of 5 acres into 9 single-family residential lots. The project site is located at the northeast corner of Ginger Rogers and Via Josefina in Section 30. The original map was approved by City Council on July 31st, 2014. This is the third and final extension of time request for this project. After that, the project will expire. The previous extension of time was approved by City Council last October. CVWD has recently completed the water line extension in December, which has delayed and prevented the applicant from moving forward. Staff has received a confirmation letter from CVWD stating that the improvements are complete. This 5-acre parcel is surrounded by vacant land to the north and east sides with an equestrian facility to the south and single-family residences to the west. The subdivision design is typical of other subdivisions within the area in that it's comprised of a private street that extends through the center of the project and serves each lot. Another 9-lot tentative map has been approved on the parcel to the immediate north of the subject parcel and is shown on your slide for reference. As you can see, 7 of the project's 9 lots do not meet the current minimum lot size for the RL2 zone. However, the project was submitted and approved in July 2014, which was several months before the minimum lot sizes were amended in November. If the tentative map expires, any new submittals will need to comply with the current zoning standards. The landscape plan has been designed to comply with the Section 30 design guidelines and utilizes a drought-tolerant plant palette. At the time of its original approval, the applicant was proposing to subdivide this 5-acre parcel into 9 lots. In order to maintain continuity with the residential land use pattern in the area, City Council conditioned the removal of 1 lot and ultimately approved the subdivision of the 5-acre parcel into 9 lots. This landscape plan shown on your screen has not yet been modified to reflect that condition. Staff has not received any outside correspondence or comments regarding this request. Staff is recommending that the City Council approve a 1-year extension of time for tentative tract map number 36621, subject to the conditions and findings in the staff report. This concludes my presentation, and I will be happy to address any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Any questions or comments from council? This is a public hearing, so open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this item. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the dais and close the public hearing. And can I have a motion, please?
Certainly. I'll make a motion that the City Council approve a 1-year extension of time for tentative tract map 36621, subject to the conditions of approval and based upon the findings and contents in the attached staff report.
I second that.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Now move on to item number 9, which is similar to item number 8. It's an extension of time for a tentative tract map 36622, 9 single-family residential lots on the southwest corner of Via Josefina and Ginger Rogers. And Joy, your turn again.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. The following request is for a 1-year extension of time for tentative tract map number 36622, which includes the subdivision of 5 acres into 9 single-family lots. This project site is located at the northwest corner of Via Florencia and Via Josefina in Section 30, with the entrance off of Via Florencia. The applicant is responsible for the improvements for the north side of the street to provide access to this project. This original map was approved by City Council in July 2014. This is the third and final extension of time request for this project. The previous extension of time was approved by City Council last October. CVWD, again, has recently completed the water line extension this December. This 5-acre parcel is surrounded by vacant land to the west, an equestrian facility, and vacant land to the east, and single-family homes to the north and south. As you can see here, this tract map is typical of other subdivisions in the area, just like the previous request. None of the 9 lots meet the current minimum standards, a lot size standard for the RL2 zone. However, because the project was approved prior to the amendment of the minimum lot sizes, it does not comply, or it does not apply to the project. Again, this is the final extension of time permitted for this project. Once if this project expires, new submittals will need to comply with the current zoning standards. This landscape plan complies with the Section 30 design guidelines and features drought-tolerant landscaping. Heritage oak trees have been chosen to line the private street, which will create a decorative feature for the future development. Staff has not received any outside correspondence or comments regarding this request. Staff is recommending that the City Council approve a 1-year extension of time for tentative tract map number 36622, subject to the conditions and findings in the staff report. This concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to address any questions council members may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Nope. Joy, what happens if they do not make the extension within the year's period of time?
So as I said in my presentation, this is their 3rd and final extension of 1-year extension of time request. Once the project expires, and if they wish to resubmit, then they have to comply with the current RL2 zone standards.
So that would reduce the number of lots on the parcel?
Not necessarily. They can make adjustments. So in the slide, in the tentative tract map design, they do have retention basins. So there is an opportunity to make those deeper while adjusting the lot sizes.
Okay, thank you. It's a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody who would like to comment on this item? We'll close the public hearing, seeing none, and go to the council for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the consideration of a 1-year extension of time for tentative tract map 36622, parentheses TTN 3X36622, which consists of 5-acre parcel to be subdivided into 9 single-family residential lots. The project is located on the southwest corner of Via Josefina and Ginger Rogers Road. This is the 3rd and the final request for an extension of time for this tentative tract map.
Thank you, Charlie. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the next public hearing, which is the major modification application, MOD 17023, 48,940 square feet expansion in the Rinker Building, Desert Orthopedic Center, located on the Eisenhower Medical Center campus at 39,000 Bob Hope Drive. And Bud, good to see you today.
It's good to see you too, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, members of the council. First slide, please. Thank you. The existing Harry and Diane Ranker building is also formerly known as the Lakeview Building, and it's also known as the Desert Orthopedic Center. This project would renovate the entire first floor of the existing building, add a 1-story expansion on the south side, and a 2-story addition to the north side of the building. The purpose of the project is to construct 6 additional operating rooms, provide space for therapy programs, and additional physicians' offices. The building is located in the northeast quadrant of the Eisenhower campus, with the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center and Betty Ford Center located to the east, the Bannon Building to the south, Desert Cardiology Center to the west, and a large parking field with the North Ring Road and Rancho Mirage Country Club golf course located to the north. The site plan on the left, shown on your screen, shows the existing building. The area outlined in yellow around the building is the general area that would be affected by this development proposal. The image shown on the right shows the existing building in the middle, shown in white, with the proposed two-story expansion on the north side of the building, shown in blue, and the one-story expansion on the south side of the building, shown in green. By expanding the existing structure, some parking will be eliminated and relocated, but parking will remain in compliance with the specific plan, as I'll explain. This slide shows the existing parking conditions for the Renker building. 407 parking spaces are currently provided, and 242 spaces are currently required for the existing building. At the bottom of this slide, you'll see that the specific plan identifies a future 40,000 square foot building expansion and related parking requirements. As you can see, the building already provides more parking than is currently required for the proposed expansion. As seen in this table, the existing second and third floors of the Renker building will remain the same and require 167 parking spaces as shown in the first row. The proposed north wing will be parked at medical office ratios and house physicians' offices and outpatient therapy programs. The proposed south expansion and renovation of the existing first floor would be parked at outpatient clinic ratios, as they are entirely dedicated to operating rooms and sterile working environments. The total required parking is 323 spaces for this project, not including the emergency stairwell. Some of the existing parking will be eliminated by the footprint of the proposed structure, which would result in 330 parking spaces being provided. The project complies with the parking requirements in the Eisenhower specific plan. I should also note that the applicant is providing 50% more handicap spaces than our code requires, and is also conditioned to provide valet parking in the proposal. The Eisenhower specific plan requires all parking for each building on campus to be within 600 feet distance to the building entries. This map shows the parking field for the Renker building in the upper right-hand corner, shown in green. Because the main public entry to the building is on the west side of the building, and most of the parking is located on the north and east sides of the building, staff's included a condition of approval number 17, which requires valet parking to be offered. Due to the nature of services conducted in the building, many patients will have difficulty walking longer distances around the building while they recover from various orthopedic issues. Valet is to be offered at the front entrance, and the valet parking field shall be placed in the far northeast corner, allowing the closest spaces to be used for self-parking. Drainage generally flows in a southeasterly direction towards an existing retention basin, and this project will include new storm drain lines and catch basins constructed in the northeast parking field and connect to the existing 24-inch storm drain and series of catch basins that drains into the terminal retention basin, shown as the kind of blue teardrop at the bottom of the screen. Surface flow on site will also be improved with V-gutters leading to these catch basins. Also, as a part of the proposal, around the backup generator and proposed oxygen tank enclosures, several new catch basins with 12-inch storm drains will terminate in the landscape pond just to the east of the emergency room. Prior to the Planning Commission meeting, the applicant contacted staff to explain that the proposed backup generator is no longer necessary. However, the applicant indicated that the proposed chiller located just to the north, shown in green on the screen, would slightly be expanded to the south about 10 feet and would result in a couple of parking spaces being added. Here's a more detailed slide showing the elimination of the new generator and a slight expansion to the south side of the chiller, which is shown in green. Staff has added a condition of approval that the colors and materials of the enclosure match the existing structure and that it be screened with vegetation. Staff supports this last-minute change as it's minor in nature. The illustration on the left shows the first floor floor plan. The blue area in the middle is the existing building with the expansion areas on the north and south shown in brown. A complete first floor renovation, approximately 18,685 square feet, is proposed. The extent of this remodel is limited to interior improvements in the blue area. 2 operating rooms, shown in purple on the screen, will remain within the existing footprint on the first floor. To the south, the expansion includes a new single-story, 22,000 square foot addition to accommodate 6 new state-of-the-art orthopedic operating rooms to augment the 2 existing operating rooms shown in purple. This wing will house a new centralized supply and processing service in support of the highly sterile operating environment. On the north side of the existing structure is a 2-story building with 26,800 square feet and will accommodate a new post-anesthesia and extended care unit on the first floor with additional physician office space on the second floor, and the floor plan is shown on the right hand side of your screen. This north expansion will displace an existing egress stairwell that provides emergency access to the third floor. Although the north expansion is only 2 stories, the stairwell must be replaced as a part of this project to provide the necessary emergency access to the third floor. This slide shows the third floor of the existing Ranker building with the required emergency stairwell relocated, as shown in brown on the screen. And just to the east of the stairwell is a mechanical equipment enclosure. The project would expand the Ranker building by a total of 48,940 square feet. The Eisenhower specific plan identifies build-out of the campus already anticipating 40,000 square foot expansion of the Ranker building. This proposal before you today is 8,940 square feet larger than the specific plan allocation, but as mentioned in your staff report, 2 office buildings have been demolished on campus since the adoption of the specific plan, and the applicant wishes to reassign 8,940 square feet to this building. There's no net increase in square footage on the Eisenhower campus, and all parking has been allocated in conformance with the specific plan policies. The existing structure is 3 stories, 44.5 feet to the top of the parapet, and 57 feet to the top of the penthouse and mechanical equipment. The total square footage of the existing structure is just over 60,000 square feet. The proposed expansion is designed to match and visually integrate with the existing Ranker building color and material palette. The project will also provide a new entry vestibule on the northwest side of the building to help mitigate high winds that can enter the lobby from that location. The north elevation shown on the top of the screen is a 2-story expansion, 29 foot 8 inches in height, and as mentioned, because the existing location of the emergency stairwell on the north side of the building, the stairwell will need to be relocated and will be the only portion of the building to expand up to 44 foot 6 inches in height, which is the same as the existing third floor. The middle of the building, shown ghosted out at the bottom of the screen, will remain the same. The south expansion is 1 story in height, and 16 foot 6 inches in height. The mechanical equipment penthouse extends another 12 feet above the 1-story expansion. The top slide shows the southern 1-story expansion facing the Bannon building, and the bottom elevation shows the view as seen from the eastern parking area towards the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center. The expansion continues the existing architectural character, fenestration pattern, colors, and materials of the existing building. Here are some renderings of the proposed expansion. The top shows the south side of the building with the one-story expansion in the foreground, and the middle shows the southeast corner, and the bottom shows the east side of the building facing the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center. This is the front elevation of the building facing the west with the main drop-off area in front with valet. The two-story expansion is on the left and the one-story expansion is on the right. Cross-sections are contained in the exhibit booklet. The landscaping continues the existing landscape palette already established on campus, which includes water-efficient trees, shrubs, and ground cover. This is the landscaping plan for the south side of the one-story expansion. The south side includes a 35-foot wide planter area with Desert Museum Palo Verde and rosewood located in the parking lot planters. Chihuahuan sage is planted at the base of the building with elephant bush, bougainvillea, red yucca, and deer grass planted along the parking area. The Architectural Review Board added condition number 20, which requires additional landscaping in the bare and white area just to the south of the building, and that needs to be shown, additional landscaping would need to be shown in the final development plan. To the west elevation, where patients and visitors will arrive, is more formally planted. Trees will include Desert Museum Palo Verde and Cascalote. Chihuahuan sage continues around the base of the building with other types of water-efficient shrubs set among boulders and decomposed granite ground cover. The east and north sides of the building are provided with multi-trunk yellow oleander, water-efficient landscaping, and parking lot trees on the north side include rosewood and date palms along the drive aisles. Colors and materials will match the existing building. The stucco color is ivory sand, and the fenestration is anodized dark bronze. A cool roof is white built-up foam, and street furnishings include bike racks, trash bins, light bollards, and benches. Lighting is consistent with the Eisenhower lighting standards and is provided in all parking areas at a maximum of 18 feet in height. A photometric plan has been provided to staff and demonstrates light containment to city standards. The Planning Commission reviewed the project on June 14th and added conditions of approval 66 through 69. These conditions are related to the thoughtful provision of seating in an air-conditioned environment while waiting on valet, a few additional handicap spaces to be added, utilizing route directing devices for the trees when they're a certain distance from the structure and from sidewalks, and providing additional shade trees in the parking field. The Planning Commission recommends approval based on the content, findings, and conditions in the staff report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Bud. You did a great job. It's a fantastic building, and they're just continuing to add to how outstanding that facility is and providing for the greatest health care in the valley. So good work.
Could we hear from the applicant?
Any comments from council?
One, I would like for us to hear from Mr. Turkeman if we could.
Right. Well, we'll open the public hearing in a minute.
Well, I know, but I just want to see if there's anything that's been raised by the presentation of the staff report that he wants us to consider before we go voting.
Okay. Is there any comments or
I
questions?
did have one question. Bud, do you happen to know if there are any plans to cover any of the existing or new parking spaces?
There are no plans for carports. However, the Planning Commission did add a condition that that parking lot trees for shade be added to city standard. So they will be adding shade trees in the north parking field.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Bud, what's the timeline on this, if there is one, the start date?
I think that probably Mr. Torkeman would be able to answer that question better, representing Eisenhower. And I'm sorry, I neglected to mention that Mr. Ellie Torkeman and his architect David Moon are in attendance today, and I'm sure that they would be pleased to answer questions about the timing of construction.
Okay. At this point, we'll open the public hearing. And Ollie, would you like to come forward?
Yes, good afternoon. Mr. Mayor, council members, city staff, and members of audience. It's a pleasure to be here before you today to present this very exciting project for Eisenhower Medical Center. My name is Ali Torkeman. I not only work at Eisenhower Medical Center as Vice President of Support and Construction Services, but I'm also a resident of City of Rancho Mirage, living at 7 Cassis Circle. So it's been a while since we've done a major project at Eisenhower. Of course, we just finished our seismic upgrade, which has really was the final step in making Eisenhower compliant with the seismic safety requirement, but it really didn't add any new capacity or any new footprint to Eisenhower Medical Center. So this is the first project after the construction of the Annenberg Pavilion, and it's a very exciting project for us. Surgery being one of the most busy lines of services that we have, and of course, orthopedic with Desert Orthopedic, one of the preeminent orthopedic groups in the country, being our partner in orthopedic services, really needs addition of major capacity to pull and not only generate additional business, but pull some of the surgeries that they do in our main operating rooms into this new facility, so we can free up capacity for other types of services. Before I go any further, I want to extend a special thanks to Bud Kopp, who really guided us through this extensive project and extensive addition to the building. Our President and CEO, Mr. Surfling, is out of town. He couldn't be here before you, but he sends his best. Dr. Stephen O'Connell, Chairman of Desert Orthopedics, here to make a few comments. And also David Moon, Principal with Moon Majoris Architects, here to respond to any project question you may have. Our goal is to submit we have, with support of Bud, we've submitted partial plans to the city, and after completion of the Architecture Review Board, we submitted partial plans to the city. Those have been reviewed by your consultant. And our plan is to submit full design documents shortly after the council favorable approval. And as soon as we have a permit, we'll begin site preparation. Our goal is to finish the project within a 2-year time frame. Fortunately for us, this is not a OSHPD project, and we can finish the project much sooner than we would normally be able to do. Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Turkman.
Thank you. Yes, Dana.
Mr. Turkman, on page 10-2 of the staff report, they list the 4 additional Planning Commission recommendation of conditions. Was Eisenhower satisfied with each of the 4? Did they have any issues on that?
Yes, we have no problem with the additional requirements from the council, from the commission.
It indicates at page 1014 that 6 additional state-of-the-art operating rooms for Desert Orthopedic Center, along with much-needed professional office space as part of the project. My question is will the operating rooms, the 6 operating rooms, be solely available for orthopedic surgery and not available for general surgery?
Yes, these are solely for orthopedic surgeries, and of course, Dr. O'Connell can respond better to this. But orthopedic is considered to be a clean operating procedure, surgery operation. So they really want to segregate orthopedic from the rest of the surgeries as much as possible. So these rooms would be set up just for orthopedic surgery. Now, in process of doing this, as I mentioned right now, there are a number of rooms in the main operating room that are separated for orthopedic surgery. Those rooms would be freed up for other type of cases. So we will, in essence, add capacity for other type of cases within the main operating rooms.
Well, I have an issue, question with regard to the indemnity agreement that's identified at page 10-23. What it says currently, if the city fails to notify the applicant of any claim, action, or proceeding, the permittee, Eisenhower, shall not thereafter be responsible to defend, indemnify, or hold harmless the city. I am considering amending it to read, if the city fails to notify the applicant of any claim, action, or proceeding of which the city had notice, the permittee shall not thereafter be responsible to defend, indemnify, or hold harmless. In other words, my thought is the city shouldn't be in an indemnifying situation if a claim somehow filters through the maze and the city was never informed of it.
Right.
And maybe you'd be thinking about that, because that is a proposed amendment I'm going to make in a few minutes. It would seem to me to make sense that before the city could be held responsible, they'd have to have some notice of it so that they could take care of the claim much earlier.
Right.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, and I think this is a wonderful addition,
Right.
not only to Rinker, to the hospital, but to the city of Rancho Mirage and to the valley itself.
Thank you.
Good work.
Thank you.
Dana, I have a question. What you just said, is that because of the construction part of the building, or what do you, help me understand what you just said?
It's an indemnity agreement that I assume references all parts of the building, and it's
Period.
written as though it does, so I'm assuming it does.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Hi, thank you. My name's Stephen O'Connell. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I do hand and shoulder surgery. I'm the president and chairman of the board of Desert Orthopedic Center, 30-year resident of the Valley. So thank you very much for giving me a few moments to explain maybe the medical side and the medical necessity behind this whole project. It's really exciting for the Eisenhower. I think that this expansion basically answers a couple of problems that's facing Eisenhower Health as well as the Coachella Valley communities. With healthcare changes that have been going on the last 6-7 years, access to medical care has dramatically increased, and certainly medical technology has advanced and better procedures have been developed, and that's increased the demand for excellent medical care across the country. Healthcare is predicting that the biggest one of the biggest areas of increased need will be orthopedic surgery. Growth rates average anywhere from 15 to 30% depending on your community in orthopedics, with total joint replacements increasing 200% in the next 6 years, and shoulder replacements increasing 100%. The reason for this unparalleled growth really is increased life expectancy, increased access to medical care, certainly better technology, and of course 80 million baby boomers demanding musculoskeletal care. And of course we certainly get our fair share here at the desert, and you know our 85-year-olds here are different than the ones in Chicago. Ours are out playing golf and very active, and their demand for orthopedics is really unparalleled. In fact, our community, our group is one of the busiest orthopedic practices in the entire state. And last year doing 90,000 patient visits and 10,000 surgical procedures and pain procedures. We actually did about 2,000 joint replacements, which rates us number 2 in the entire state. So we're very busy, and we've just outgrown the space. Also, Eisenhower simultaneously, the inpatient operating rooms with the more demand for new general orthopedic surgical procedures, urology procedures, etc. There's just no operating space. The operating rooms are going till 11, you know, there'll be 5-7 rooms open at 11 o'clock at night. So that makes it difficult for hip fractures or emergency cases to even get into the operating room. Another really important factor is this change in healthcare. I think this helps to answer Mr. Hobart's question earlier is that there's a tremendous transition right now in medicine, and especially surgery, moving from an inpatient setting to an outpatient setting. For example, Medicare has now designated a knee replacement to be an outpatient procedure unless you have some comorbidity, heart disease, respiratory disease, something that would necessitate you being in the hospital longer for medical management. So when Medicare says an outpatient, they mean less than 23-hour stay. So this expansion will have ability for people to stay one night and move them from the inpatient setting to the outpatient. No specialty in medicine is expected to have more of the transition and has certainly experienced more in the last 5 years of inpatient to the outpatient setting than orthopedics. So what's nice about that is right now the orthopedics is about 40% of the volume of surgery at Eisenhower. And so we control a lot of the outpatient and inpatient operating rooms. We'll be able to take about 50% of the inpatient orthopedics and move that to the outpatient setting. What that will do is free up 2 or 3 rooms a day for all the other surgical specialties. So it really solves 2 purposes. It allows the orthopedics to expand, which is the busiest practice, and also opens up space for the other surgical specialties to expand as well. I think that the last part, and really an important part, is recruiting doctors. You know, this is a great place. We all live here and we all love it. I've enjoyed every moment being in the desert. But you know, it's an unusual place, and it's not the easiest place to recruit to, especially young people. If you look at our staff right now, we have people from USC, UCLA, Mayo Clinic, Stanford, Hopkins, Shock Trauma, Cleveland Clinic. I mean, we have a university-style orthopedic practice in this setting. We have research, we have teaching, and so this expansion, I think, is great as a professional to be a part of that and help develop it. But it's also, I think, really a benefit to the community. But whenever, you know, we say, you know, you can't get in to see that doctor, you got to bring in another hand surgeon, or you got to bring in another shoulder surgeon. We want the best and the brightest. And everybody we recruit has multiple job offers. The Academy of Orthopedic Surgery suggests there'll be about a 25% increase in orthopedic surgery in the next 6 years or so, with a net negative 1% workforce. That's tough. So guys coming out from the top programs right now can go anywhere. So we have the program. We have a great university-style orthopedic program. We have a high volume of very interesting and diverse surgery, great patient population with a tremendous bell-shaped curve of the economic microcosm of the United States. And the last little piece right now is facility. And I think this facility is not only going to answer a lot of the immediate healthcare issues for taking care of the patients here, but it's also going to help us attract the best and brightest to this community, because that's what I think we all deserve and want. So if you have any questions about it, I would address Mr. Hobart. One more question was the separation of orthopedics. And that's a really an important question and astute one. Essentially, if you look at almost any surgical subspecialty that isolates themselves into a surgery center, they're always more efficient, they have less infection, less complication rates, are more cost effective. And it's pretty easy to know because the people are doing the same thing every day. They're not doing a hernia and then doing a heart surgery and then doing a vascular, then doing the joint replacement, and then going over and do the carpal tunnel release. They're doing the same operating rooms, the same type of procedures all the time. Also, the interesting thing about this operating room will be an infection-free operating room, meaning if you have an infected ankle or something, it's not being done in this operating room. That'll be done in the regular operating room where other surgical infections or infections from other causes are treated. And The reason for that is the joint replacements. When you're doing 2,000, hopefully we'll be increasing to 3,000 joint replacements, you want to keep that as sterile and a clean environment. So you don't want to bring any type of outside organisms in there, so that when you have a clean operating room like that, it should be more efficient, less infection, more cost effective, better outcomes. And that's well documented in many specialty ambulatory care articles.
Thank you.
You mentioned hiring new staff and the ability of this facility to allow you to do that. How many more staff will you be able to put on?
Well, this will probably allow us to, I think this will take orthopedics at least another decade to maybe 15 years as you look at the growth rates. But we're bringing in 2 more, one in August 1st and another September 1st. And we still have a need for 3 more doctors as far as volume coming in, but we don't have any place. And you get the guy from Hopkins that would love to come here, or we just hired a fantastic a female orthopedic surgeon, first one in the valley. It's a foot and ankle surgeon, and she had multiple choices. But one of the things we could offer her was immediate operating room. If you're from a top program, you don't want to stand at attention to start your surgeries at 3 o'clock after the other people do. You want to be in there at 7:15, get your cases done. For me as a hand surgeon, if I do a carpal tunnel surgery, it takes me 7 minutes. It's just a very quick operation. It takes you 15, 20 minutes to clean the room. So you're spending more time waiting than you are surgery. When you have more operating rooms, so for example, what I do at Desert Orthopedic Center now, I have 2 rooms and 2 crews. I do one surgery, they're cleaning this room, move to the other one. So you can be more efficient to utilize the physicians, which are really the highest trained and the commodity that we have the least of. So you can make the physicians more efficient. And that's very, very attractive to doctors coming in. Everyone wants to know, what kind of block operating time am I going to have? And what physician assistant am I going to have to help me? The people coming out now that we're recruiting are much more sophisticated than 20 years ago about the whole practice and efficiency of medicine.
Thank you. Dana?
It would seem logical that with the additional 5 surgery rooms, that would open up the general surgery area that you've been working in, so that general surgery could occur additionally, faster, take more cases in a shorter period of time.
Exactly. Yeah, right now, about in the main operating room, always 5 and sometimes 6 operating rooms are devoted to orthopedics in the inpatient, and then 2 outpatient every day. So we have 5, anywhere from 5 to 8 rooms every day. Not all those are going to be able to come to the outpatient. If you're having your knee replaced and you have comorbidities of heart disease or diabetes, you may need to spend 2 nights. You won't be able to do it in this setting with following all the Medicare guidelines. So we're thinking maybe 50%. So if we're running an average of 7.5 rooms over there, then you think it's 3 to 4 rooms a day. So that's 15 to 18 operating rooms a week will be available for all the other specialties, which will allow more volume to come to Eisenhower and other doctors to be able to do surgery during the day. Certainly if you have your surgery done, you'd rather have it done at 10 o'clock in the morning than 10 o'clock at night because you're on the add-on. And a lot of cases get done late, not because it's a preferred time, but only out of necessity for access. So this really helps access of the doctors to the operating room, which in turn improves the access of the patients to the quality care that they need.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions up here?
Right.
Okay, thank you for being
Very
here.
much.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Is there anybody else in the audience who would like to speak on this item? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and come back to the council. Any final questions? Ted?
Yeah, I'd really like to make a comment that from a firsthand experience, I know the need to expand that area. It's extremely crowded, and from a personal standpoint, experience with my wife, I can understand why the expansion is needed. I'd also like to compliment the Planning Commission. The items that are added, 66 through 69 on page 10.2, were excellent additions to the report and made the entire project that much better. So congratulations, Bud, and your staff. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Iris, did you have anything?
I would like,
Dana?
First let me ask Mr. Lee. Steve isn't here, and this isn't something I had run by him. The indemnity agreement, paragraph 54 on page 10-23, down at the bottom. The last sentence begins, if the city fails to notify, first off, let's discuss for a moment what an indemnification agreement is. It says the applicant, which is Eisenhower, shall defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the city from any claim, action, or proceeding against the city. The city shall notify the applicant of any claim, action, or proceeding, and the city will cooperate in the defense. All of that makes all the sense in the world. The sentence that follows says, if the city fails to notify Eisenhower of any claim, action, or proceeding, the city, strike that, Eisenhower shall not thereafter be responsible to defend or to indemnify or to hold harmless the city. That could involve a lot of money under the right circumstances, I suspect. And what it seems to me is that we should add a sentence, part of a sentence, to make it fair. And that's the following. If the city fails to notify the applicant of any claim, action, or proceeding of which the city had notice, then Eisenhower shall not thereafter be responsible to defend the city. In other words, before we should be able, or should be required to indemnify Eisenhower, we had to have notice of the claim. And if we didn't have it, the way it reads right now, whether we have notice or not, we are indemnifying Eisenhower. I think that we should amend it to say that we should only indemnify Eisenhower if we have notice of that claim. Do you see an issue that I'm missing there?
Councilman Hobart, no, I don't see an issue with that, but I would just like to start by saying that this language we see as it exists now is standard, as you may or may not know. This is the city's standard indemnity language, but I do agree with you that your proposed addition is a fair addition, and I would, separate from this project, I would probably like to see that added language for all of our of the city's indemnity language.
When you said that all of them have the same language, I was going to say, well, then we should make the amendment to all of them.
Yes, I concur.
Okay, well, what I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, is I would like to move approval of item, approve the filing of a categorical exemption of environmental impact pursuant to CEQA section 15332 in parens class 32, infill development project, and B, approve major modifications, case number MOD 17023, based upon the content, finding, and conditions in the staff report, subject to amending paragraph 54, the indemnity agreement, to insert the following words after the words or proceeding, so that it would read or proceeding, comma, of which the city had notice, comma, and then it would continue. The permittee shall not thereafter be responsible to defend, indemnify, or hold harmless the city.
Okay.
That's
Is
my
that okay
motion.
with you, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. There is a motion.
I'll do the second.
And there's a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay,
Can I also
congratulations.
join, I want to compliment Bud Kopp. This was a tremendous project. It was succinct. It gave us the information we needed. It was really one of the finest I've seen since I've been at the city.
Thank you,
Good
Councilman
staff
Hobart. And we can make the change to the boilerplate to add the
Right.
wordings for future conditions as well.
Right.
To Eisenhower Medical Center, we're glad you're here today, glad you're in our city. You do a great job. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, we will now move on to the next item under the public hearings, and that's item number 11. And it's the preliminary development plan, Santa Barbara Cove Estates, PDP 18001, residential development on the south side of Mirage Cove Drive and 650 feet east of Highway 111. And Mina, it's all yours.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. Today I will be presenting a proposal for a new development of 20 one-story single-family homes off of Mirage Cove Drive, known as the Santa Barbara Cove Estates. The subject site is located on the east side of Highway 111, behind the Desert Patio and Catalan Commercial Center. The property and project might look familiar, as this is the second time this development is coming through for entitlement. The original project was approved in 2007, but has since expired. The applicant has made enhancements to the architecture and design of the original plan and has resubmitted the development for entitlement. The zoning for the property is District 3 of the Highway 111 West specific plan, medium density residential, 5 dwelling units per acre max. There is a tentative tract map on the property that is currently in the process of being recorded that was approved in 2007. The tentative map is for the subdivision of 4.72 acres into 20 single-family lots, with the average lot measuring 8,660 square feet in size. Prior to the 2007 tentative map approval, the recorded map on the property is for the development of 71 lots, 16 of which have been developed as the existing Palms and Sands units, leaving 55 undeveloped lots on the property. Those 55 lots were consolidated as the shown tentative tract map. It's important to mention that the tentative map that is currently being recorded cuts the density down to 20 units, which not only affects the density of the site, but also cuts down the potential traffic impacts. The previously recorded map would result in 710 vehicle trips a day. The map that is currently being recorded would bring that down to 360 vehicle trips a day. Additionally, when the specific plan was adopted for the subject district and the use, it projected 1,000 vehicle trips per day for this site, and the existing circulation pattern for the adjacent public streets proved adequate for those traffic volumes. Again, to summarize, the proposed plan would generate approximately 1/3 of the traffic volume of the recorded map. A specific plan amendment was processed with the original application that modified the minimum lot size requirements, lot coverage, and setbacks for the project, and will govern the current request. Access will be provided from Mirage Cove Drive with a gated entry. There are 2 private streets proposed once you enter the development, Santa Barbara Lane and Santa Barbara Court, which provide access to all 20 homes. The private streets measure 36 feet curb to curb. Here we see a visual representation of the variation provided within the community in terms of floor plans. Where one floor plan is used more than once, 2 different front elevations are provided. The maximum height of all the homes is 20 feet, 1 story, with varying roof heights proposed from 9 feet to 20 feet in height. The project is planned in 5 phases of 4 lots. I'm going to show a few of the elevations in this presentation. The full exhibit booklet is available at the Planning Department. There are three main architectural schemes: Spanish Colonial, Santa Barbara, and Tuscan. The use of hand-painted Mexican decorative tile, stone veneer, wrought iron, open beams, and rafter tails all contribute to creating a detail-oriented, high-quality development. Plan D is proposed on Lot 15 with the Santa Barbara scheme. Decorative chimney caps, rafters, and tile work are apparent in this scheme. You can see the varying roof heights provided on the right elevation are used to add visual interest. Most of the proposed floor plans were designed to fit each individual lot. Here we see Lot 15. There are 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and a casita. Careful attention and detail was provided on all 4 elevations of the home. Shown here is Plan J on Lot 11 with the Spanish Colonial scheme. This architectural scheme is inspired by a mixture of Mediterranean and Spanish architecture. It features textured, desert-appropriate stucco, spiral columns, and arched windows with wrought ironwork. The floor plan for the home includes 3 bedrooms and 3.5 baths alongside the main living area and is proposed at 3,200 square feet of living space. The last elevation I'm going to show for this presentation is Plan K on Lot 16. Plan K features the Tuscan architectural scheme, and we see prominent features such as the stonework working alongside warm tones of stucco and clay roof tile to deliver a superior architectural product. The Plan K floor plan features 3 bedrooms and 3.5 baths. The total square footage for this plan is 3,300 square feet, and it is unique to Lot 16. From the displayed color and materials board, we can see that the tones and materials are desert appropriate and provide variation within the development. Authentic accents, such as the previously mentioned Mexican tiles and clay tile roofs, are brought in to accentuate the architectural styles. The applicant has proposed a desert-appropriate landscape plan for the development. Mirage Cove Drive requires a 17-foot landscape parkway at the entry. The applicant has met this requirement. The parkway is lined with shoestring acacias, boulders, dwarf coyote bushes, and a plethora of other desert-appropriate vegetation. The entry to the development will include a maximum of 6-foot-high wrought iron gates, stucco walls, and decorative pavers. Here we see an example of the landscape plans for 3 of the lots. Blue flame agave, lantana, and Mexican bird of paradise are just a few of the shrubs that will be used alongside olive and Australian willow trees. The development is well planted with a mixture of 5-gallon and 1-gallon plantings. Single-family residences are required to have a minimum of 2 24-inch box trees and 1 36-inch box tree in their front yard. As proposed and conditioned, the landscape plan complies with this requirement. The proposed project also includes the refurbishing of the existing Palms and Sands units. There are 16 existing units. The existing development was constructed in 1962 and will receive an aesthetic upgrade, as well as a new pool house and parking area. The existing units will all be given revised architectural detailing, block walls, and landscaping that will give them a Spanish look to coordinate with the new Santa Barbara development. Also, as part of the project, the aging septic systems will be replaced by a new sewer line. Staff is recommending that the following additions of approval be added to the staff report in order to ensure that the proposed development meets and exceeds the city's design and development standards. Condition of approval number 48 is proposed to state, all mechanical equipment shall be screened at the existing Palms and Sands units. All existing roof-mounted equipment shall be ground-mounted and/or screened to the satisfaction of the Planning Division. 49 is to state trash enclosures shall be provided for the existing Palms and Sands units so that trash bins are not visible from Mirage Cove Drive. 50, all walls and fencing for the proposed Santa Barbara Cove Estates and the existing Palms and Sands units shall match. Chain link fencing shall not be permitted, and the deteriorating wood fencing at the existing Palms and Sands units shall be replaced with decorative block wall or wrought iron fencing. And finally, the block wall alongside the eastern property line of the proposed development shall be permitted to be up to 8 feet in height in order to provide additional privacy to the existing residents, so long as both parties are amenable to the increase in wall height. The developer of the Santa Barbara Cove Estates shall be responsible for the installation of the perimeter block wall. And with that, staff has not received any outside correspondence or comments from anyone. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the filing of a categorical exemption of environmental impact pursuant to Section 15332, Class 32, and Preliminary Development Plan, case number PDP 18001, based upon the content, findings, conditions, and supplemental conditions in the staff report. That concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mina. Dana, does this project look familiar, going back like forever?
There's a long story to this project.
Yes, how many times have we looked at this? Certainly it looks better now than it's looked in the past. Mina, there was one question that I raised with you when we were reviewing this project, was the idea of garage doors on the outside units. And what are we going to do there? Talk to the developer about the possibility of doing that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we included in condition number 32 that the applicant shall investigate the feasibility of converting the carports to garages, and we would like more detailed plans to be submitted with the final development plan application.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes, I do. The existing homes that are there, and I'm familiar with this also because it goes back quite a ways, are they going to be remodeled to reflect the same architecture as the new ones because they are in front of the development? So what you see is you're going to see those first. So they will be reflected as almost like the new ones being built with garage doors.
No.
To the best of the ability of being able to upgrade the existing units. The architectural schemes will match what's being proposed on the new site.
Okay. What? Go ahead.
One other question.
Explain that just a little bit, if you will. Do we have any photograph of those white houses on the street in front? Those are what you're talking about.
Yes, Tina.
If we can show the city and the audience and staff. None of those two photographs don't really depict much. Well, maybe you can see it from a certain angle, but yeah, you can.
I can.
The lower one in particular,
right,
is typical of about how many, 7, 8, 9 that remain on Mirage Cove?
Correct.
There are 7, 8, or 9 of those. Needless to say, the residents across the street and around the area are very troubled by them having new houses and houses existing on the property for probably 30, 40 years or more. As I understand it, we can't do anything about forcing any of those homes to modify their appearance. Is that correct?
That is correct, Councilmember Hobart. What we have done is we've included conditions that they have to paint and stucco repair as needed. They have to repair the carports, the driveways, flat work. All that's included in the conditions of approval.
But to get to Councilman Townsend's point, the answer to the question is no.
Right.
They will not be modified so as to look like the 20 or 30, so whatever number is there, of the interior new homes.
Right.
That street will continue to have that, and
they'll all be the older units.
Huh?
They will be older in design, and they're going to stucco and paint, but certainly it's not going to change them
Right.
to look similar to the new units.
We tried to encourage Mr. Catanzarite previously to see if he couldn't buy up those homes. I've talked to him subsequently, and he was, I think he had some success, but he wasn't able to get.
I think he owns 9 now. I'm not sure about that figure.
Yes, I believe he does own that many, 8 or 9. My question is also, can he can't even force them to paint or upgrade or enclose the garages. Is this correct?
That's
He
part
cannot
of
do
the
that.
approval of the project, I believe.
Is this tied in with? So if we approve it, then he has the authority to go to these individual people and say, you have to do this?
The applicant currently owns about 11 units, so the remaining units, he will have to obtain property owner consent, but
Which he will get because it's to the advantage of each of those homes to acquiesce to his request.
Yeah, of course, this is a wonderful opportunity, and as Dana and Richard and I know, this has been going on for quite a while, and it would be a great improvement to the city of Rancho Mirage. So those are just my questions. Thank you.
I have a question that was sent to me by one of the neighbors just across the street. She indicated that she was in a conference in South Carolina. One of the issues that she raised is this. It says, these are larger units, some with 3-car garages. There are 3 of them, I believe, with 3-car garages. So with that and the duplexes already surrounding it, this adds plus or minus 50 more vehicles onto our little street, with the traffic already from the duplexes, condos, and memory care facility. Has this been taken into consideration, and if so, in what manner? Maybe you could answer that as to what we as a city have done to try to make the traffic that is undoubtedly going to increase significantly on Mirage Cove to lessen the impact of it.
Absolutely, Councilmember Hobart. So the map that is currently recorded on the site would actually result in more units than what's being proposed with the tentative map and the project that's being considered today. So the approval for that site is up to 70 units total, 16 of which have been built, as we know. The current proposal will cut the potential traffic impacts that were approved and considered with a specific plan to about 1/3 of what could potentially be built on that site.
Well, that's about all we can do, I suspect. But it is going to be
one of the additional items that we're asking for approval is the 8-foot block wall around the total property. On the old side, or on the side closest to 111, we've got commercial property. On the other side, we have the residential. By going from 6 to 8 feet, that'll give them a little more privacy, but does that give the new homes any worse of a visibility if you're going from 6 feet to 8 feet?
I don't believe so, Mayor Kite. I believe that the increase in height would be purely for privacy reasons, as long as both parties are amenable to the increase in height.
Okay. And one last minor item, the street names are both Santa Barbara?
They're proposed to be both as Santa Barbara Court and Santa Barbara Lane. Final approval does come with the Planning Division.
Maybe we could make sure that both of them are not named Santa Barbara, so
Absolutely.
be a little more not confusing.
Richard.
Yes, Dana.
Mine on page 11-5 in the first full paragraph. It says, as part of the original approval of the tentative map, 11 of the 20 lots were designed so that a property owner on one lot could use the side yard of a neighboring lot. And then later on it says, any instance where this condition exists will require a recorded easement. I'm not sure that I really understood that, but what is the side setback for any one of these homes? How many feet?
The specific plan amendment that was approved in 2007 permitted the side setback to be 7 feet 6 inches, so that it would maintain the minimum 15-foot distance between homes. The proposal does meet that requirement. On the screen, I have an image displayed that shows shared side yards. The reason that the applicant did propose with the original tentative map approval shared side yards is so that they could offer additional outdoor living space to each of the homes, because they do have that reduced side yard setback.
So if I'm understanding correctly, if I have house A and I want to have a barbecue, I can have the barbecue on this part of the land that would be the side setback of the house next door.
Correct. You would have legal access to that side with the easement that is recorded with the map.
I mean, I can't think of anything more guaranteed to produce wars of great violence than to have our neighbor having a picnic on my property, making a mess or doing whatever. And I'm wondering what the history is that got us to the point where that was where we are. It may be only that it's better than the alternative, which is no room at all.
That's part of it, Councilmember Hobart. What we did this go around is we did include a condition of approval that states that needs to be disclosed in the community CCNRs, so any potential home buyer will know that ahead of time prior to purchasing.
Dana, rather than giving each person 7.5 feet, what they're now doing is allowing both parties to share. So you go from 7.5 foot side setback to 15 foot.
Suppose they have a 200-pound pit bull.
You put up your fence.
Can they party with the pit bull on my property as well?
It could be the War of the Roses, Dana.
It will be.
It's really a question of which is better, having less land or having more land and more problems.
I guess maybe we could just say leave it to them to work it out.
I guess.
And move on.
It's a good point, though, Dana. Very good point.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing now, and I know there are individuals in the audience who are impacted by the development of this project. So if you'd like to come forward and give your name and address.
My name is Bill Crow. I live at Palms and Sands, 70033 Mirage Cove Drive. I'm in Unit 67. I'm one of 3 of the remaining owner-occupied units in the complex. Mr. Contanzarite owns 12. There is one more rental unit, so that leaves 3 owner-occupied. And I guess my concern is that it seems to me that we don't really have any choice in any of this. And my biggest concern is I don't want Mr. Contanzarite coming back to us and saying, you're going to pay for us fixing the outside of your house. This is not my choice. I didn't choose to have this done. I support the project, of course, because it makes sense. Because I know that little place is an eyesore, but I love my unit. I love living there. But I don't want to be financially responsible for something that he has to do.
I don't think you will be.
Well, but I don't want it to happen because knowing my past experience just wouldn't guarantee it unless it's in writing, is my concern.
Somebody might change their mind. I can understand your apprehension, but I do think it's pretty solid in here that they can't charge you for any of the modifications, the repairs, the upgrading that Mr. Contanzarite has had to undertake. We have forced him to undertake those things to your home because it's not only benefits you, but benefits the city.
Absolutely.
And it benefits the new tenants or new residents who will come in when the project is finished.
Absolutely.
But is there anybody here that thinks there's any, because this will be on tape, you'll have a copy of it, I assume. You'll put it in your do not burn box.
Yes, really. My growing file of this project.
Yeah, exactly.
So you would be all right with this being done to
Oh,
your
absolutely.
home? Okay.
Absolutely. And the other three owners, even though I'm not their speaker, just through conversations, I know that they agree as well, because we all live right next to each other.
Yeah.
Bill, it'll be a lot better than what you have
Yes.
now. And,
Well, it wouldn't.
and hopefully with all the improvements, it's not going to look exactly like the new units, but
No.
it's going to look pretty good.
You'll have
Well-
a parking lot back there, you'll have a swimming pool back there.
Yes.
Plus your own houses will be modified to
Right.
some extent.
You know, and I think it's great, and we're all 100% behind it. It's just that we have these nagging reservations about any of the costs of this coming back to us through an increase in our homeowners association.
But you may have an
Mina will
increase in
make
your
sure
property
that none of
tax.
that happens, I'm sure.
Yes, if I may respond, you will not be held financially responsible for the improvements. That is part of the conditions of approval.
Okay, not initially,
than
but-
possibly property tax increases, because the value of your home will be increased as a consequence of these changes.
Right, and it's all a good thing. This is all a good thing. It's just that I don't want to have to face a $100 HOA per month increase to help him pay for something that he has to do.
I don't think you would be in their HOA, is that right, Mina?
The Santa Barbara Co. Estates would be a separate HOA. There is an existing managed HOA for the Palms and Sands units.
Well, it still doesn't answer my question.
Well,
or
if
address my
anybody
concern.
says you have to join an HOA involving the new homes that are constructed, just come to the city, point that out. We'll take
Okay.
care of it, because you're not responsible for being a member of that HOA. You
Okay.
have very little in common with them.
I think they're planning on having two HOAs,
Yes.
one for the existing buildings and one for the new buildings.
Yeah, for sure.
And the other thing, I've heard lots of conversation about the traffic. Mirage Cove Drive is the Indianapolis 500. Those people use that as a thoroughfare to come from 111, go down to Peterson, then up to the mobile home park. And already the traffic is not heavy, but there's no speed control. I was wondering if the city's planning in any speed reduction accommodations, because I mean, you turn that corner and you've got a straightaway clear down to Peterson, and people use that. I've heard them go through all 4 gears before they're past my house.
Well, we could look into that, couldn't we?
Yeah, we have
Mr. City
nothing
Manager?
planned right now for speed controls, but it's certainly something we can monitor and find out what the need is.
And
We have half
with
the
it-
police department here right now.
Yes, sir. So city staff, Jesse Eckenroth, our Public Works
We
Director.
can work on that with.
Yes.
Yes.
Those are my concerns, and like I said, I think it obviously is a great project, and we support it with all of these reservations, and I think you've addressed most of them. It's just, I hope you understand our concern.
Well, we're glad you're
And the
here.
city doesn't have an alternative either.
Pardon?
The city doesn't have an alternative either. We can't say no building there because
Right.
it'll affect the traffic conditions or something else.
Right.
We do not have that authority.
Right.
They meet the conditions required by law. We have to move forward
I
from that
understand.
perspective.
I understand.
Any other questions? Okay, Bill, thank you.
Yep, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this item? Okay, we will close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of questions for Mina also.
Yes.
Okay, because I know we did talk about this, and I had my concerns also about this shared easement and how that was going to play out. And I know that I was assured that this is something that will not hamper the sales as long as people are aware of them. When are you planning, or when are they planning to start this project, number one? And is the updating of the existing units going to be done at the same time, or is it going to wait until there are a couple phases down the line? And are they going to be also going to be having model homes that are going to be built originally and then have people order from there?
Thank you. So they are currently working on recording the tentative map. They need to record that by October. Their expiration date for that map is October unless it does go through the extension process. So that is what they were focusing on. They do plan on starting construction in October, excuse me. We've conditioned that phase 1 of the project include all site improvements. So all site improvements in the first 4 homes, excuse me, would be phase 1. I'm sorry, the second part of that question.
Is the updating of the existing homes going to be done at the same time, or is it going to be done further down the line?
It's conditioned to be complete prior to the first building being finalized. So we do give them a little bit of time to get that work done with the expectation that prior to phase 1 being complete, that also needs to be complete. And as for the model homes, I'm not too sure. Perhaps the applicant can help address that, but I do know that phase 1 is planned to be 4 homes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Did you get an answer to your question? Okay. Is Mr. Contensorite here? Okay, could you come forward? Reopen the public hearing. And your name and address?
Daryl Moore. My address is 22750 Monona Drive, Grand Terrace, California. I'm Vice President of Aegis Builders, one of the companies involved in Mr. Catanzari's world.
Okay. Dana, did you have a question?
Yes, I wanted to ask Mr. Contanzarite, so we'll ask you to the extent that it operates as a workable substitute.
Okay.
Is there anything that you've heard here, that any representation made by anybody on the council, myself included, that you think was incorrect and or needs a modification to ensure accuracy?
No, everything that was said was correct. There's going to be no financial burden on the existing residents. I think that was the biggest item. We're going to build it all and give it to them. And it's not going to increase their HOA, and the HOAs will be separate. So I don't think there's any issue there. And as far as the model homes, I think we will have model homes. It's not really a tract. They're, let's call them semi-customs. We have, I think, 11 models on 20 lots, so it's very close to custom housing. So it isn't like a KB tract where they have 3 models and 500 homes. So you go look at that and you pick off the model. But I think we still will have models.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming forward.
Thank you.
And we'll close the public hearing
Tell
again.
Mr. Contanzarite we appreciate his patience.
Yes.
This has required a bit of patience.
Yes, on everybody's part, yes.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you.
Okay, the public hearing is closed, and we need a motion.
All right.
And we can combine both A and B for whoever is going to make the motion.
I will make the motion that the City Council approve the filing of a categorical exemption of environmental impact pursuant to CEQA sections 15332, parentheses class 32, infill development project, and B, approve preliminary development plan case number PDP 18001 based upon the content, findings, and conditions in the staff report.
May I second it? I want to do it a little bit with a little prose.
Go ahead.
With the memory of Ron Mipos in mind, who was very much involved with all of us who were on the council at the time. And in his memory, this is a matter that he argued in favor of initially. I just want to second the motion that we authorize construction of the project as it's been presented. And I'm hoping that somewhere in there'll be a little plaque to remember Ron and how hard he fought for this project. And maybe he'll forgive me for not supporting it in those days. I second the motion.
Maybe we could do something at the entrance gate where the gate will be, put something on a pedestal or something.
That would be good. I think
Yeah.
Ron would like that.
Right.
Very good, Dan.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
And the motion carries, and let's hope we're still not here, Dana, in another 10 years doing this again. But I think it's going to be a good project, and it's really the best for that particular area.
Yes, yes it is.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to also make another comment, and I think Ron would be wonderfully elated to see the architecture. And I want to commend not only the staff, but also the developer. I know it's not easy to come up with some unusual designs, but I think in the slides that were shown, there were a couple of homes there that really were very unusual and something new and different that we haven't seen before, especially when it came to looking like there were two-story homes there, which there are not. But because of the cathedral or the vaulted ceilings inside, it gave the appearance of being a more deluxe and a larger and more grand feature. And I wanted to compliment both the staff, as I say, and the developers, because you really did a lovely job working together. And I think it's going to be a beautiful project for which Ron would be very proud.
Okay, I agree.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to item number 12 under the public hearing, and this is the preliminary development plan designated ECHO PDP 18003 residential development on the north side of Ginger Rogers Road and 330 feet east of Landy Lane. And Mina, you're going to handle this again?
Yes, I will, Mr. Mayor. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
By the way, Mina is an associate planner in our planning department.
Thank you. Next, I will be presenting a proposal for a new development of 9 single-family lots off of Ginger Rogers Road in Section 30 called Echo. The project is located east of Landy Lane with access off of Ginger Rogers Road. The zoning for the property is very low density residential, RL2, 2 dwelling units per acre max. There is a tentative tract map on the property that is currently in the process of being recorded. The tentative map is for the subdivision of 5 acres into 9 single-family lots, with lots ranging from 16,000 to 22,000 square feet in size. The average parcel size is 18,600 square feet. The map was approved in 2008 and is currently in the process of being recorded. Access will be provided from Ginger Rogers Road with a gated entry. A private street, Echo Lane, extends north from Ginger Rogers as a widening cul-de-sac. The cul-de-sac will provide access to all 9 lots. All of the proposed floor plans meet city code requirements for setbacks and lot coverage. As you can see, the applicant has proposed a variety of floor plans and elevations for the development. There are a total of 4 different floor plans with 4 architectural schemes presented. The build-out of the site is proposed in 4 phases, with the first phase being site improvements. The proposed homes are all very low profile. The maximum height of the proposed homes is 13 feet. City codes allow a maximum height of 20 feet. They utilize raw materials in their true form to create a serene and calming development that focuses on the natural desert materials inspired by the valley's surroundings. We see materials such as black steel, concrete, natural stone, desert tone color stucco, and Corten steel used to create a clean and organic community that is unique to Echo. There are 4 color schemes presented, as seen on the far left-hand picture, and any color scheme may be appointed to one of the 4 floor plans. I'm going to show 2 out of the 4 floor plans for this presentation. The fully detailed booklet is available at the planning department. There is an elevation that goes with each floor plan. The applicant provides ample selection of floor plans, colors, and materials to create a diverse yet thematically consistent subdivision. Shown here is the front elevation for floor plan 1 on lots 1 and 3, which will be followed by their floor plan. We see the details that we previously mentioned, including the stonework, concrete, and naturally colored stucco. The unique stonework extends over the entryway, accentuating the varying use of rectangular features on the elevation. The first floor plan is 3,600 square feet with 3 bedrooms and 3.5 baths. The main living space is located at the center of the home with access to the outdoor living area provided on multiple sides. We can see that 4-sided architecture is a prominent feature of the development with the attention to detail visible on all sides with stone and metal accents. Floor plan 3 appears on lots 2 and 5. At the entry, a natural free-form stone wall extends forward, providing a unique entryway. On lot 2, this floor plan has a front-facing garage. On lot 5, it features a side-loading garage with the front entry stone wall extending east, hiding the garage from public view. A white smooth stucco parapet is added to hide the roof line. The floor plan 3 homes are 3,600 square feet in size with 3 bedrooms and 3.5 baths, with the main living area at the center of the home. Steel panels and stone walls are featured on the north and south elevations, alongside large expanses of sliding glass doors on the east and west. The landscaping for the proposed development is drought tolerant and designed to reflect the calming and soothing effect of the architecture for the residences within the community. The entry includes leatherleaf acacias, olive and Mexican ebony trees, with boulders and a variety of cactus and desert-appropriate shrubs. The landscape is used as an accent to the already earthy architecture. Here we see a few of the lots with the proposed front yard landscape plans. Our code requires a minimum of 3 trees in the front yard alongside drought-tolerant landscaping. The applicant has met this requirement. The plant palette is consistent throughout the development with acacias and olive trees present throughout. The proposed project, as proposed in condition, meets and exceeds the requirements of the municipal code. Staff did not receive any outside correspondence or comments from anyone. Staff is recommending that the City Council approve the filing of a categorical exemption of environmental impact pursuant to CEQA Section 15162, subsequent EIRs and negative declarations, and approval of the preliminary development plan, case number PDP 18003, based on the content, findings, and conditions in the staff report. That concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to address any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of staff? No questions? Nope. Okay, this is a public hearing, so I open the public hearing and invite anybody who would like to speak on this item to come forward. Afternoon.
Hello. Just Sean Lockyer here, and I'm an architect with the architecture firm that helped create this, and so here to answer any questions if you have any.
I'd like to just make a comment. I think this is one of the most fantastic projects I've ever seen.
Say that again?
It's just tremendous use of stone.
Thanks. Yeah, we like it a lot. We think it's new and fresh and just what the city needs. The developers are pretty excited about it. I think the Rancho Mirage is going to be pretty receptive to this type of product here. So thanks.
What's the significance of the name?
You know, we think that the architecture is reminiscent of things that have gone on with modern architecture in the past, and yet pushes towards a contemporary look and aesthetic to it. And so that's part of how it came around. And you know, we went back and forth on some names for a little while, but settled on this one. I think it's kind of simple to the point.
Right, it is. Mm-hmm. Nice job.
Thanks.
Any questions? Okay, thank you for being here. Oh, Ted.
Not a question, but again, I'd like to compliment you. I think the design and style is just outstanding and will blend in that environment extremely well. I like your choice of materials. I like the design of the structures. And it will add a lot to the area.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this project? Okay, we will now close the public hearing. And can I have a motion, please? We can include both A and B on this.
I'll make a motion to approve filing of a categorical exemption of environmental impact pursuant to CEQA Section 15162, subsequent EIRs and negative declarations, and 2, approve preliminary development plan case number PDP 18003, based upon the content, findings, and conditions in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Yes, City
Mr.
Manager.
Mayor, I just wanted to take a second and thank our planning department. You guys did an excellent job handling all these projects, your attention to detail, and everything you do to keep these projects on pace. It is very appreciated. And Jeremy, your team's doing a great job. We saw them all today with the exception of Sylvia, who is back behind keeping the department going while we were all in here. So thank you to the planning department.
I agree. I think you have total support of the council in that. Okay, we'll now move on to the action calendar. Item number 13 is an application for traffic signal synchronization funding, and that'll be presented by our Director of Public Works, Jesse Eckenroth. Jesse.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. The Mobile Source Air Pollution Reduction Review Committee, or otherwise known as MSRC, exists to improve air quality. As such, they are providing an opportunity for cities to obtain funding for air pollution reduction measures. Traffic synchronization is an air pollution reduction measure that is encouraged by the MSRC and has been approved by the MSRC for this round of funding opportunities. The MSRC has developed a high-level presentation describing the purpose and specific goals as a requirement of this grant opportunity. So Jason, if you would go ahead and put the PowerPoint up. So again, this is a grant opportunity that the city is wishing to apply for towards our traffic signal synchronization project. If you go to the next slide, please. So the MSRC's sole mission, as you can see on the second bullet, is to invest funds to reduce air pollution generated by mobile sources. So our synchronization project that is forthcoming will reduce pollution from mobile projects or mobile sources and would qualify for this grant opportunity. Go to the next slide, please. The point of this slide is just really to highlight the progress that still needs to be made for air quality, and it identifies the attainment years for each of those goals that's listed there. So this just really identifies the need that still needs to be attained. Go to the next slide, please. So this graph illustrates the need to make the needs made for the air quality goals. As you can see, there's a 45% reduction that is the goal for 2023 and a 55% reduction for 2031. And the next slide is the air quality management plan. So this is a roadmap really on how we can meet our air quality goals. And one of those strategies that's identified in here is traffic signal synchronization. Very similar to the project that we are going to be embarking on. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the MSRC is incentivizing cities and counties to implement air quality measures. And there's a $50,000 funding opportunity we are applying for. And that's a prime example of this incentive that they're offering. The next slide, please. So again, staff does partner with the MSRC and will continue to do so. Programs like these are a benefit to our community. So this is a presentation that the MSRC, or a slideshow that the MSRC has put together, and it's part of the grant application that we show this to our council. In addition to that, we're going to have a resolution before you today to approve for the application process. So the city's upcoming traffic synchronization projects each have their own federal grant, but the federal grants do not pick up the entire cost of the project. The federal grants cover over $2 million of the project costs, but the city is picking up the remaining estimated balance of $435,000. So applying for this proposed grant of $50,000 would reduce the city share from $435,000 to $385,000. The MSRC requires the city to match the $50,000 contribution. That match is met through the existing fiscal year 18-19 approved budget, and no budget adjustments are necessary to apply for this $50,000 opportunity. The staff report and resolution are required by the MSRC to be eligible for the funding contribution. Approval of this resolution declares the city's intent to match the $50,000 MSRC contribution for the city's traffic signal synchronization project. And staff recommends approval of this resolution and the authorization to submit the required documents to the MSRC to apply for this grant opportunity. That concludes my staff report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of staff? Yes, Ted.
Jesse, who handles, in your staff, who handles the grant applications?
The majority of that's done through Jeff Benson. He's our engineering technician. Excellent resource. He knows the grants. He knows the Caltrans process. So the majority of that's handled through him, internally, in-house.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Anybody in the audience have a question on this particular item? Okay, seeing none, we'll come back to the council. Iris, did you?
No, I was just going to make a motion when you're
Okay,
ready.
you can include item A and B in one motion.
Okay, that sounds good. That the City Council adopt resolution number 2018, next in order, authorizing the submittal of a funding application to the Mobile Source Air Pollution Reduction Review Committee, MSRC, for traffic signal synchronization funding, authorizing the allocation of a required 50% local match of $50,000, and acknowledging receipt of the MSRC supplied presentation in connection with the 2017 Local Government Partnership Program, and B, allocate related funding for implementation of City Project 13-308- Traffic Signal Interconnect and Controller Cabinet Upgrades.
I'll second that.
You got the longest motion of the afternoon.
I know.
And you did it good.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Now move on to item number 14, which is an award of design contracts for traffic signal interconnect improvements. And Jesse, this is yours.
Thank you. So, Mayor and City Council, I know this has been in the works for quite a while, but we're here to award the first part of this project today. So the traffic signal interconnect projects, there's two of them, CP 13308. One project we call 014 and one is 015, also referred to as traffic synchronization project, is now through the environmental process and is ready to award for the design phase of the work. So just like a building has a designer or an architect, the synchronization project also has a designer, so we're here to award that design portion today. The staff report and contract award are only dealing with the award for the design of the project. The design team will be responsible for developing all the plans and specifications, including coordination with utility companies to avoid infrastructure conflicts, verification of existing conduit routes, and they will provide the city with assistance during the construction phase. But before we get into the details of the staff report, I want to go ahead and highlight some of the key points of this project. So really this is about improving Rancho Mirage roadways. And the two projects under consideration improve 40 signalized intersections throughout Rancho Mirage. So it's a substantial amount of intersections that are going to be touched by this project. The traffic interconnect project is separated into two projects to leverage available federal grants. There was a cap of $1.5 million on the federal grant. application at the time that we applied for these in 2013. So we hit almost the max on one, and then the second grant also got some funding. So you'll see that it's a traffic signalization project, but it's broken into two scopes to leverage those funds. So City Project 13308-014 is 27 intersections, and the second project, 015, is 13 intersections. So here's just a map highlighting the area. So the first grant covers 27 intersections on Highway 111, Bob Hope, and Country Club. And the second phase, or the second project, is 13 intersections that are on Monterey and Dinah Shore. So I think it's important to remember that the grants for this project received approval in 2013. So an important consideration when implementing our synchronization project outside of CVAG's purview is due to the fact that Rancho Mirage already had obtained $2 million for our own project, which means that Rancho Mirage will not be dipping into the valley-wide bucket for funding, so it can leave resources for other cities because Rancho Mirage has already obtained their own grants, and that happened over 4 years ago. So I just think that's something we need to consider going forward. So there's 27 intersections on Highway 111, Bob Hope, and Country Club. The total estimated cost for the entire project, so this is design and construction, is almost $1.9 million. The federal grant amount is almost $1.5 million, with the local share approximately $400,000. The second project is 13 intersections on Monterey Avenue and Dinah Shore. Total estimated cost for the entire project, again, this is design and construction, is $638,000. The federal grant amount for $574,000, and the local amount at $64,000. So the federal grant share is approximately 83%. So the grant that we applied for and received is going to cover the vast majority of this project for us. So traffic signal synchronization.
Hey, Jesse, can I add a comment there? The federal grant reimbursement percentage on this project of 83% is very high. New rules, new grants are at a lower threshold. So by the city being proactive and doing this many years ago, we took advantage of a higher reimbursement level than what we would get today.
And that explains one of the reasons that we're not involved in a project, the same kind of project through CVAG.
Yes, sir.
We started ours 2 years earlier.
Yeah, and these figures are not including that $50,000 grant that we just discussed. So if that $50,000 grant we just discussed is awarded, obviously the local share will be reduced by that $50,000.
Amazing.
So I kind of want to touch on the, I guess, the guidelines of signal synchronization, because I think a lot of people think that it means you won't hit a red light and that you're always going to have green lights when you have signal synchronization. But that's not always the case. What happens is signal synchronization aims to do the most good for the most people. So it's a volume-based program, and that synchronization gives priority to main corridors where most of the travel occurs. So the main corridors see the greatest benefit, and the majority of vehicular travel see a benefit. But for example, if you're on 111, you will be a main corridor. But if you are going to come out of Evening Star and you want to turn onto Highway 111, Evening Star is not a main corridor. So synchronization recognizes that, and it gives priority to where most vehicles travel. So there are some instances where low volume streets and left turns often have to wait longer when you're in a coordinated, synchronized corridor. And that's because, again, synchronization works on the principle of the most good for the most people, so it gives priority. So one of the key things that we kind of want to touch on is that we want our synchronization project to be adaptable to Rancho Mirage, and we want to have a program that obviously takes into consideration our seasonal traffic as well as our summer traffic. So we're going to program into our synchronization the traffic patterns that we see in season and the traffic patterns that we see out of season. So we're going to have the ability to adapt to traffic fluctuations. And our fluctuations in Rancho Mirage may differ from valley-wide. So we're going to have the ability to really customize our operations according to the needs of the Rancho Mirage residents. So some of the goals of the traffic synchronization project are, number one, obviously to improve traffic flow. There's a lot of data out there that collisions decrease as well when you do a project like this. And we have a specific goal to improve pedestrian safety, and specifically with the installation of pedestrian countdown heads like the one that you see. So when you're going to be at a crosswalk, you'll have a countdown head, which is gives you some indication of how much time you have to cross the crosswalk, which is helpful. Some more goals of the traffic project are to maintain local control. So we're going to have the ability to respond to seasonal traffic pattern fluctuations, and the ability to respond to intersections that provide unique challenges. So, you know, if we have an instance where we have a certain intersection that is causing problems, that's something that we will have the control to go out and change ourselves. In addition to that, we're going to maintain a high level of responsiveness. So we're going to specify equipment that staff can become familiar with. We don't have a large staff, so we're going to pick equipment that we can operate and maintain, and we're going to design a system that we can monitor and adjust instantly. So a lot of the monitoring that we're going to be able to do on this system is remote. So right now, we don't know when a traffic signal goes down unless we get a phone call or we physically drive and we see an intersection's down. Well, with this system, we'll be able to get alerts on our phone and know instantly what's going on. Another key goal of this project is that it's going to increase the reliability of our traffic signals. We are going to specify equipment that is proven and reliable, and it's going to replace a lot of the aged components that are in our traffic cabinets. So we have some equipment that's 15 years old that sits out in the summertime heat, and this will give us the ability to replace a lot of that, a lot of those components in there. We're also going to shoot to increase compatibility with neighboring cities. So we want to share timing sheets and programming with neighboring cities, coordinate special events. We've already met with Palm Desert. They're on board with our program and the equipment that we want to get. So we hope to increase the compatibility with neighboring cities, and we think that'll be achieved without a problem. And we're going to continue to utilize grant opportunities, complying with federal requirements, which we have on this job, to obtain reimbursements. And we're going to continue to look for grant opportunities like the one we just presented. So that concludes the presentation. I'll get into the details of the staff report a little bit and then open it up for questions. So the proposed contract awards before you today are for design services, which are plans and specifications. Again, there are 2 contracts for consideration. Each contract will be tied to one of the grants. Federal grants require strict adherence to their guidelines for reimbursement approval. The professional services contract before you today is a subject of those requirements. Staff has been very careful to follow the guideline requirements so we don't become ineligible for grant reimbursements. So the process to date is as follows. City staff put out a request for proposal March 29th, closed the posting on April 27th, and 4 firms responded to our RFP that we put out. The firms were evaluated by a 3-person panel, 2 from Rancho Mirage and 1 from Palm Desert. The panel evaluations placed Kimley Horn as the top-ranked candidate, and the city solicited an independent engineer's cost estimate for the design portion of the project. Kimley Horn's proposed cost does line up with the independent engineer's estimate for the design cost. Kimley Horn has met the schedule requirements that the city requested and has been responsive to all the requests of the city. There is no contingency allowance in this proposed contract, and this project does not require a budget adjustment. We had programmed this in the fiscal year 18-19 approved budget, so there's no budget adjustment required. The proposed costs for the project are $209,431 for the 27 intersections on Highway 111, Bob Hope, and Country Club, and $76,500 for the 13 intersections on Monterey Avenue and Dinah Shore. By following the professional services selection criteria as noted above, we will be eligible for federal reimbursement on this portion of the project, and staff recommends awarding design services for both city traffic interconnect projects to Kimley Horn, and staff is available to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Excellent presentation. Any questions from staff? Questions down here? The key to this whole project is local control. I think it just makes everything so much better for the residents of Rancho Mirage.
Yeah, and our staff, Justin's here today, our staff does a great job right now. When anything goes down, they immediately run out and take care of it. So we want to continue that and keep our responsiveness high.
All right. Any comments from the audience? Anybody would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll come back to the council and ask for a motion, please.
All right, I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that the City Council award 2 contracts to Kimberly Horn for the design of traffic signal interconnect improvements in the amount of $209,431 for City Project 13-308, paren 014, and $76,500 for City Project 13-308, paren 015.
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, Jesse, we're now going to do item number 15, which is the award of contract for Dinosaur Drive pavement rehab, Los Alamos Road to Bob Hope Drive to Vance Corporation. You're on.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and City Council. First off, I'd like to thank Leland Cole. He is our senior civil engineer. He's a registered professional engineer and land surveyor, and he prepared these plans 100% in-house. So we saved the cost of having design services on this project. So thank you, Leland, for taking the time to design these projects in-house. So the subject section of roadway that we are discussing today is a 1-mile stretch on Dinah Shore from Bob Hope to Los Alamos. Would you please pull up the presentation? Directly in front of the new Pulte development and the Westin. Part of Pulte's electrical undergrounding project on Dinah Shore includes the excavation and subsequent repaving of the westbound number 2 lane. And the city is proposing to repave the westbound number 1 lane, as well as to fully rehabilitate the entire north side of Dinah Shore between Bob Hope and Los Alamos that fronts the Pulte development. In addition, the city is proposing to rehabilitate the entire south side of Dinah Shore between Bob Hope and Los Alamos that fronts the Westin. So the entire 1-mile stretch that's on the screen in front of you in both directions on Dinah Shore will have new pavement. Thank you, Jason. You can bring that down. So the city has specified a cold-in-place recycle method, which recycles the asphalt by grinding it and blending it with an emulsion product, and that's laid back down on the road and compacted. The recycling process minimizes construction time, reduces landfill waste, and is less expensive than a complete haul away and repavement project. The project has a 60-day completion schedule. The asphalt roadway work, though, will be much less than that. It should be less than 2 weeks that they're actually out in the road doing the major work. The city will be incorporating a bicycle lane on the north and south side of Dinah Shore, and will be replacing 6 sidewalk access ramps to improve pedestrian safety. The project was put out to bid on June 8th and closed July 10th. 4 companies bid on the project, with Vance Corporation being the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for a total amount of $1,034,441.50. The project was bid on a quantities basis with no contingency. If quantities and costs need to be altered to achieve our desired outcome, the budget subcommittee will be kept apprised. No budget adjustments are necessary. The project was accounted for in the approved fiscal year 18-19 budget, and staff recommends award to Vance Corporation in the amount of $1,034,441.50. And staff is here to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, thank you. What's the timing on the actual construction, Jesse?
So we hope to start in late August and be done early October.
Okay,
So before
good.
season.
Okay, Dana?
Yeah, Jesse, what is comprised in a Class 2 bike lane?
A Class 2 bike lane is a striped lane on the side of the road. So a Class 1 is separated, completely separated from the roadway. Class 2 is striped when it's on the existing roadway. A Class 3 is when a bicycle actually shares the lane with a vehicle. So a Class 2 provides an actual lane, so it'll be a 6-foot lane that from the curb, it's going to come out 6 feet with the stripe, and it'll have legends of a bicycle in the Class 2 bike lane.
Good.
Thank you.
Any questions, Ted?
Yeah, Jesse, I know that Southern Cal Edison has had some issues as far as delivering power, to the Pulte development. And that's obviously one of the conditions is putting the undergrounding of the electrical poles along Dinah Shore. How will that impact the timing of the paving of the street?
So this was something that we've been considering. It's a good point you bring up. We wanted to do the repavement after Pulte had their project completed because they will be tearing up that section of roadway and they have to redo it as part of their development agreement. But if we don't award it now, we're going to get into season when it would be time to do the construction. So as soon as Edison gives approval to Pulte, which they anticipate will be soon, they will complete the section. So it'll be the number 2 lane on the north side. So as soon as they get approval, they will probably are able to move much faster than we are and get right on it. So we've already kept them apprised of our schedule and told them what we're anticipating, as well as the west end. So we'll work together to make sure that it comes together, but I don't have a definite date on when Edison's going to give Pulte the approval.
Yeah, and one of the considerations for the timing of our project and wanting to do it out of season, not just because of the general increase in traffic during season, but also the fact that this runs right in front of one of our very important resorts, the Westin. We don't want to impact their business or their guests during their peak season either, which is why we're requesting to move forward with the project now.
And just to piggyback off that, we contacted the Westin and they said any improvement is welcome. So we will keep them apprised, and they are going to obviously appreciate that they're going to have a new roadway in front of their development. As well, Pulte will have a completely new roadway in front of their development.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll come back to council for a motion, please.
I will make the motion that the city council award the contract for the Dinah Shore Drive pavement rehabilitation from the Los Alamitos Road to Bob Hope Drive, City Project CP 17-335, to the lowest responsive bidder, Vance Corporation, in the amount of $1,034,441.50.
There was a motion. Can I have a second, please? Ted, did you do second?
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we'll now move on to item number 16. This is a fiscal year 2018-2019 rent levels for the Housing Authority, residential complexes. And Marcus is a housing manager. It's good to see you today, Marcus. You're on.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor Kite, City Council, and City staff. Annually, the residents at our city-owned affordable housing properties undergo a rental recertification process to determine their annual rent rate for the upcoming fiscal year. This process is critical due to the annual increase in the minimum base rent that is based on the lower of either the annual consumer price index percentage increase or the annual cost of living percentage increase in Social Security. This year, the lower of the two was the cost of living in Social Security, which came in at 2%. The established minimum base rent differs from property to property. Therefore, some will see a more sizable increase than others. Other factors calculated into the rental rates are cable, water, and prescription rent credit. Prescription rent credit allows eligible residents of the housing properties to qualify for rent credit of actual medical expenses paid by the household the previous year to be applied to their monthly rent. There is a $100 per month cap, and the rent credit cannot bring the resident below the minimum base rent. Current property management service provider, Hyder & Company, completed the recertification process for all 4 properties. City has reviewed and approved the recertifications. Based on the Housing Commission's approval at its July 5th meeting, staff recommends the approval of fiscal year 2018-2019 Housing Authority rental recertifications. Thank you. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Marcus. Any questions?
Question?
Yes, Dana?
Marcus, can you tell us how many of the units, either totally or broken down to the separate individual sites, how many units have 2 residents and how many have 3, the rest having 1, I assume?
We do not have the number of residents that are broken down, because some of the 2 bedrooms still have 1 single resident that lives in that unit.
So we don't know the actual number of people living in those houses?
No, sir. Not on me right now. I'd confirm that for you later.
I don't know that we need that information, but
we don't, Councilmember Hobart, but we could certainly get that by working with our property management company. We don't have that readily available because it's not something we keep track of.
Okay, could you do that then, just?
Of course.
So that the council can know that.
Was the 2-bedroom units given to a 1 person, or were they always kept for 2, or a husband and wife?
And it just depends on the circumstance of the resident. We will reserve 2-bedroom units for the most part for 2 people. In some cases, 2 people have moved in, 1 has deceased. We don't move the other person. We allow them to continue to live in that unit, of course. And in other cases, individuals will have a caregiver that's live-in nature, and that caregiver would have that second room.
Very good. So coming in, there is a preference to 2 bedrooms, 2 people.
Absolutely. We try to maximize our units.
Thank you.
Marcus, do you happen to know the number of units that went up this year in rent?
They all the units went up because even with the minimum base increase, even those that were at the minimum levels, it was going to rise by the 2% that we adjusted the minimum base rent by.
So everybody had a minimum of a 2% increase then?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes,
I have-
Iris?
Marcus, do you know what allows a resident to be eligible for the medical provision?
Yes, they would have to fall into the very low income level, which I believe was at $23,400.
And do most of the residents fall into that?
Yes, a lot of our residents at Whispering Waters and a few of them at Parkview Villas do, as well as Centerville Villas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Anybody in the audience have a question regarding rents at the city's housing? Seeing none, we'll come back to council for a motion, please, on item number 16.
All right, I'll make the motion that the Housing Authority approve the fiscal year 2018-2019 rent levels for Parkview Villas, San Jacinto Villas, Santa Rosa Villas, and Whispering Waters as presented.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcus. You did a good job on that.
If you ever visit the properties, you will likely see Marcus there. He does a great job taking care of those 4 properties and doing the weekly site inspections to make sure that they're kept in the best shape. Thank you, Marcus.
Okay, it's time for item number 17. Memorandum of Understanding with the County of Riverside Department of Environmental Health Sciences related to on-site wastewater treatment systems. And our Deputy City Attorney, Colin Kirkpatrick, will give us this one. Colin.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council, and good job with that. It's a lot of consonants and syllables and confusing words in there. For your consideration today is an MOU or a Memorandum of Understanding with Riverside County Department of Environmental Health regarding on-site wastewater treatment systems. Currently, 9 other cities have entered into this MOU with the county, with 2 more in the pipeline. Entering into this MOU will allow the city to avail itself to the county's local area management plan, which will allow for continued use of on-site wastewater treatment systems in the city. Currently, the MOU term proposed is 5 years, and it does allow for termination with 30 days notice. So if for any reason the city or the county is unhappy within the 5-year term, the MOU can be terminated. The MOU details services county will offer residents, which includes environmental planning review, technical assistance, and plan review for on-site wastewater treatment systems. There will be no direct cost to the city, as the county will bill residents for the services. Staff does recommend entering into this MOU, and I'd personally like to thank Mr. Merchel and Mr. Klein for their assistance with this, because on-site wastewater treatment systems is not a class I attended in law school, so the technical nature of this was very appreciated with their input. I'd also like to personally thank Mark Abbott from the county, who was very receptive and helpful in getting this MOU accomplished. I would like to note one correction to the staff report. There's a typographical error on my part where I said that the residents would bill the county. That's obviously not correct, and the county would in fact bill the residents. I'm available here for any technical questions or for any questions. Otherwise, Mr. Merchel, the city's building officials, here to help with any technical questions, unless you'd like to laugh at me trying to answer them.
Okay.
Thank you, Colin. Iris,
I do
yes.
have one question. On page 17-2, it says in the second to the bottom paragraph, this section requires that whenever a public sanitary sewer is extended to within 200 feet of any building served by a private sewage disposal system, the owner of the property with private sewage must connect the buildings to the public sanitary system, which may be done prior to the sale of such property. Do we know the number of properties that fall into that category?
I don't. I'll defer to Jack to see if he is aware.
Okay.
No, ma'am. At this time, we don't know the exact number, but they're localized to certain areas. Thunderbird Heights is one of the areas. Some properties on Josephina are some of the areas. Most of the city is served by sewer. Peterson and Nielsen and Kelly would be septic areas.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Charlie, no question?
No, sir.
Okay. Ted?
No.
Okay, anybody in the audience have a question regarding this MOU? Looks like everybody understood it, Colin. So we will have a vote, please. Can I have a motion?
Okay.
Iris?
I will move that the City Council approve the attached memorandum of understanding with the County of Riverside Department of Environmental Health regarding environmental planning review, technical assistance, and plan review for on-site wastewater treatment systems in accordance with the county's local agency management program, subject to substantive revisions to be made by the city attorney as needed.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we're now on to item number 18. My compliments to the council for getting through 18 items in 3 hours today. Great job. So item number 18 is the resolution 2018, next in line, approving the integrated resource plan for Rancho Mirage Energy Authority, REMA, Community Choice Aggregation Program. And I'm sorry, we have 19 items today, so this is number 18.
Not done yet.
Tiana?
Thank you, Mr.
She
Mayor.
is a management analyst. Nice to have you here today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. The item I will be discussing today is the Rancho Mirage Energy Authority Integrated Resource Plan. Rancho Mirage Energy Authority, RMEA, is a locally controlled program that enables our residents and businesses a choice regarding the energy source for their electricity. The primary objectives in implementing this program are to sustain long-term rate stability through local control and provide rate savings, which we currently do by providing a 5% savings on generation rates. While savings is an integral part of RMEA, so is planning to meet the future energy needs of our community. Central to this effort is a process called the Integrated Resource Plan, or IRP. The IRP can be thought of as a roadmap that looks out at a 10-year horizon and establishes a plan for RMEA's procurement activities to meet greenhouse gas reduction targets and renewable portfolio standards. Before we continue on about the IRP, I'd like to talk more about these renewable portfolio standards, or RPS, and how it relates to RMEA. RPS is a state regulation that requires increased production and energy from renewable energy sources, such as solar, wind, or biomass. In April 2011, the RPS target was set at 33% by the year 2020, meaning all retail sellers of electricity shall serve 33% of their load with renewable energy by the year 2020. Most recently, Senate Bill 350 was passed, which requires retail sellers to procure 50% of their electricity from renewable energy sources by the year 2030. During RMEA's development, the City Council took a bold step in establishing a default energy product, our base choice, that comes from 35% renewable energy and 50% greenhouse gas-free sources. Currently, we're not only meeting but exceeding the state's 2020 goals, and we are well on our way to meeting the state's 2030 goals. And speaking of renewable energy, I'd also like to add that RMEA's premium renewable choice offers 100% renewable energy. The city has taken the lead in driving clean energy by opting up all 160 plus meters to 100% renewable. This includes city facilities, the street and outdoor lightings, and even agriculture and plumbing. By opting up all city accounts to 100% renewable energy, the city is making a substantial and rapid impact on lowering greenhouse gas reductions. So circling back to why we're here today, RMEA was established with the purpose of saving our residents money and reducing our environmental impact. Staff recommends the City Council adopt the Integrated Resource Plan, which details RMEA's strategy in continuing to lower our community's environmental impact in a cost-effective manner. And before concluding my presentation, I'd like to acknowledge that Barbara Boswell from California Choice Energy Authority is here with us today. Barbara worked closely with the California Public Utilities Commission to ensure that this IRP meets all established requirements. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Excellent job. Any comments from council? Any questions? Tiana, what percentage of the total residents in Rancho Mirage have opted out of our program?
The total percentage would be under 1% that have opted out of our program.
Outstanding job of,
It really is.
making everybody understand exactly what the program is.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. Anybody in the audience have a question regarding RMEA? Okay, no further questions. Council, anybody who'd like to make a motion on number 18?
I'll make a motion that the City Council adopt resolution number 2018, next in order, approving the Integrated Resource Plan for the Rancho Mirage Energy Authority Community Choice Aggregation Program.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, please vote.
Motion carries 5-0.
And number 19, can't leave yet. Consideration of the proposed residential solar rebate program.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. The next and final item that I will be discussing today is a proposed residential solar rebate program. Staff's request is the City Council authorize the City Manager to maintain and administer a residential solar rebate program for RMEA residential customers. As established by the City Council, the mission of RMEA goes beyond providing discounts to our customers and extends to the promotion of the development of local renewable energy. Part of RMEA's responsibility is the use of revenue streams to support economic development and establish energy-efficient programs. A few moments ago, I spoke about the city taking the lead on environmental and sustainability initiatives. Through RMEA and staying true to the objectives of RMEA, the city can continue this leadership role by undertaking programs that support the development of local renewable energy. Local renewable energy is important because the production and burning of non-renewable energy sources, such as coal and natural gas, generates large amounts of greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere. These emissions are the leading causes of pollution, climate change, and unhealthy air quality. However, renewable sources, such as solar, directly addresses these issues. Solar is a clean, sustainable way to generate electricity. Environmentally, solar development is a public benefit. It reduces the demand for fossil fuels, limits greenhouse gas emissions, and shrinks our community's carbon footprint. For a resident, solar is an investment that results in immediate and significant utility bill reductions as soon as they're installed and operational. RMEA provides a savings on the generation portion of a resident's bill. However, incentivizing solar development allows residents to tackle the delivery portion of their bill as well by producing their own electricity. And not to mention, installing solar panels can significantly increase property values, especially with today's emphasis on environmental awareness. The city has an opportunity to make a meaningful impact in the community by providing an incentive that encourages installations of new solar systems. If this initiative is approved today by the City Council, Rancho Mirage will be the first in the Coachella Valley to offer this unique type of incentive program. So what is the program? The Residential Solar Rebate Program will provide a $500 rebate to any residential RMEA customer that installs a new solar system. The rebate will be in the form of a one-time incentive payment, which will assist residents in recouping the cost of their system installation. Rebates for new solar installation will only be available for residents actively enrolled in RMEA since inception or actively enrolled in RMEA for 1 year. And the resident must be the property owner at the time of issuance. After completion of solar installation, residents will submit a residential solar rebate program reimbursement request along with other required documents. All requests will be reviewed by the staff and all eligible rebates will be processed through the city. Rebates would be provided through the RMEA fund, a separate and distinct account from the general fund. Based on the historical solar permit issuance, we issue an average of 300 solar permits annually. With a rebate of $500 per household, the approximate fiscal impact of the program is $150,000. Again, this is provided through the RMEA fund. Staff met with the Residential Solar Rebate Program Subcommittee, consisting of Mayor Kite and Councilmember Hobart, to discuss the idea of this initiative. The subcommittee recognized that the promotion of solar development represents an increasingly viable and cost-effective means for helping our community address climate goals, helping residents stabilize their energy bills, and improving public health. The subcommittee concluded the Residential Solar Rebate Program directly aligns with the goals of RMEA and endorsed the program for City Council consideration. Today, staff is recommending the City Council authorize the City Manager to maintain and administer this program. That concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I have one question. Do we know the approximate cost of what the residents are spending on the solar panel installations?
I don't have that number, but I can look into it.
It really varies by the size of the system that they're putting in. So the way that they put in these systems now, it's very sophisticated, and solar developers design a specific system for that home, taking into account shading, layout of the roof lines, and then each customer's specific energy use. So you will see many factors that could potentially influence the cost of these systems.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Ted, question?
No, it's not a question. This is another example of, I think, of what the city can do for its residents. This was an idea that actually was created by our city manager, Isaiah Hagerman, who thought it would be beneficial to give the $500 incentive to people in the city to use solar. Because we are a proponent of sustainability, and of course, solar accomplishes that task. So, like so many other things that our city does, we do this with our residents in mind. We're fortunate that we can afford to do this, and the idea is to pass it on. So Isaiah, great idea, good job, and onward and upward.
Thank you, Councilman. It was definitely a team effort in coming up with this program, and including some of the outside resources that we've used. We talked to the California Solar and Storage Association, and we've also spent a lot of time with our local solar developers that have been of great assistance to the city and staff as we've kind of gone through this program, and of course the subcommittee for all the input that they got. So it was definitely a team effort of developing this program.
This really reconfirms our stance on bringing down the cost to our residents and their electric costs. So we're totally committed to doing that. And as we go forward, we may see additional ways that we can help our residents save money. Any comments, Dana?
A couple of concerns, but the first concern is I'm wondering if we should wait until we see how much financial value we're getting from our becoming the RMEA and providing electric service for our residents. I mean, the program for the first year is calculated to cost us about $150,000.
Right.
$150,000 based on a rebate of $500 per year per household. What happens if we don't make $150,000 the first year? I mean, maybe we've already made it. I don't know. I feel like the cat walking into, or the rat walking into the cat's corner there. But
it comes out of the city manager's pocket, I would suspect.
Well, that's
There's
true.
no personal guarantees
Yeah,
here.
yeah. That's one way to look at it. Good point, Richard. The other point is, I don't really see why we would exclude people who are not RMEA people, if indeed the idea is to get solar panels on more walls and roofs. What do we care who's under them?
Sure. So to address the first question of the cost concern, so with the RMEA, we've obviously are entering July as going to be our third month of operating, and so we are already in that positive cash flow state with the program. When we looked at the budget, we are anticipating about a $1.3 million surplus in this program after 1 year of operations. And the way the program guidelines are written, the program can be reevaluated or stopped by the city at any point. So when we looked at the fiscal impacts of it, we felt that they were not putting the overall program into jeopardy. And it would be easier to implement something like this in the initiation of the program instead of having to adapt to something new after a year of the program operating. But city staff will continue to analyze this, and if it becomes a burden to the overall program, obviously we would come forward with a proposal to reduce that. The second question was, the city could absolutely extend it to the other portion of our city. We have two small sections of our city that are IID service territory. So we just wouldn't be able to pay for those rebates out of the RMEA fund. We would default to our general fund. And currently, with the IID service territory, IID has made some pretty significant changes to its net metering program. It's more of like a net billing program. So not as many people are going solar within IID service territories because you don't recoup the cost of these systems as fast under the IID rules. But could we absolutely extend it into that service territory? We absolutely could. We would just use our general fund.
Well, I wasn't thinking so much of extending into the ID territory as I was of people who are within our territory who did not sign up for the RMEA.
Again, they would be, if they're not in RMEA, then we would probably default to our general fund for the...
Why would we have to?
Yeah, just simply because...
We couldn't use RMEA income to...
For non-program related purposes, no.
Well, that's a program-related purpose, would be to have solar panels up regardless of who's living there.
Yeah, and due to our opt-out numbers, we're talking about such a small percentage of people to probably be on the safe side. You know, if the council wants to do something different, they can absolutely direct us to take it out of the RMEA fund. But with the very low opt-out numbers that we got, we're talking about 80 properties. So those 80 properties would probably be safer just to default out of our general fund.
But we could take it out of the RMEA fund if we wished.
If so directed by the council, yes.
Isn't one of the reasons for putting this together to encourage people to get into the program? I would think if they sign up for RMEA, they're going to benefit from this. If they're not in RMEA, I guess the question is, why should we give them any incentive?
Well, and I think, you know, kind of when we were analyzing this, we were thinking of it in the context of the RMEA program. So this is a benefit of being within the RMEA program, and it's a way that we can take those resources that used to go to Southern California Edison and reinvest them into the community. So, you know, to include all the properties within the city, you're not talking about a huge financial burden. So if the council wanted to add that element to the program, we would absolutely be able to implement that, and you're not talking about a huge impact to the program. In fact, when we ran the permit data, we ran it citywide. So that's the number of permits citywide. We didn't identify those permits by RMEA customers. So you're probably talking pretty close to the 150,000 threshold that we've presented today if you wanted to go ahead and expand it to non-RMEA customers. Staff has no objection to that.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Would anybody like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. We can still tinker with it on the edges. We want to get this passed to keep our new city manager happy. I move that the city council authorize the city manager to maintain and administer a residential solar rebate program for residential customers of the Rancho Mirage Energy Authority. There, it's limited there.
Second.
Recognizing that it's limited there.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, please vote. No, I forgot to ask for public comment. Is there any one of the few number of people who are still here want to make a comment? Sorry about that. Want you to have your comment.
Thank you. Brad Anderson, Rancho Mirage, Purple Drive. I'm one of the 1%ers, or less than one of the 1%ers. I'm actually one of the persons that opted out, and it's mainly because I was had my head in the closet, I guess. I didn't know about everything that was taking place, and in a timely fashion. And by the time I did opt out, which was April 30th, I believe, I was instructed on the website that I had to do it 5 days prior to that to be opted out, and I sent some emails, and and I felt that actually that's a whole other issue. I was kind of hijacked, I guess, and I thought the notices should have been sent in the bills too. I know a lot of people don't look at the bills, but I would have, and I would have known about it. Again, it's done. It's not a big deal. But I guess the main thing about, I think the solar initiative is a great idea. Myself, my utility costs, I'm very, very thrifty. I don't spend a lot. I want to say I probably spend under $1,000 a year on electricity.
On electricity?
Yes. And
Boy,
I know.
tell me how.
Thank you.
Tell me, do you have a wife?
I know my neighbors are talking about $500 bills, and I'm going, what are you doing? Why is it so high? I don't, well, if I'm in one room, the light's off in the other room. So, and it's only myself. If I had another person, it would be an issue. But my AC runs all day long, so I don't know. But I have the foam roof. I do everything, just like the rock and the landscape. I've done the letterscape before people would pay me not to. So maybe I'm just ahead of the game. But
it's never too late to join.
It's never too late. Yeah, exactly. And that's another issue. I understand Southern California Edison. Apparently, I can't transfer back over to you without giving them 6 months prior warning now in a letter form and all these criteria that's imposed on me now because of this. And just because I had to stay with your system or your organization for a month, I guess. So anyway, it's done, so I'm over that.
Okay.
But the net metering thing, he brought that up. I thought that was interesting. I had no idea what it was. I had to look it up, and I know Mr. Perez, Supervisor Perez, was implementing that through IID, and I'm with IID. I would sue too, because I don't think it's really a fair program. But that's my opinion, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is everybody?
I second it.
Oh, yes.
Just to make a comment very quickly, Mr. Anderson, so the 5-day rule that you got caught up in was actually a Southern California Edison rule. So what happened in his case is he opted out. RMEA processed that opt-out timely. However, Edison has a 5-day rule. Because of that 5-day rule, he ended up into his next bill cycle. Edison nor RMEA can transition people in the middle of the bill cycle, so he had to wait till his next meter read date, and then he was opted out of the program. The way it sits now is we had that 2-month grace period where people could get in and out as much as they wanted. Now that we're past that period, there is a 6-month wait period to get back into the program. So if that's something you're interested in, or you would like to know more information about the program, we'd be happy to sit down with you and walk you through that process to know what your options are. And I think that's the best thing about RMEA is it is a choice, and it provides our community with another choice where before there was none. So thank you.
Thank you. Tiana, you have all the answers in case he wants to do something, I'm sure.
I sure do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we do have a motion and a second. If you'd like to vote, please.
Motion carries 5-0.
And that's the last of the agenda items. And now we'll go to the city attorney with the closed session items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, the City Council will be adjourning into closed session to discuss 3 matters. 1, conference with legal counsel, potential initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, 1 potential case. 2, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. Veronica Juarez versus City of Rancho Mirage, Riverside County Superior Court, case number PSC 1403469. And 3, conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6A. Agency designated representative is Isaiah Hagerman, city manager, and the employee organization is Rancho Mirage Employees Association.
Mr. Mayor, I think we should also commend Johnny Albee for sitting in for the city clerk today as to the outstanding job she did.
She did a great job counting from 1 to 5 on those votes.
And would you stand up, please?
Except I think they were all 5 zeros.
Excellent.
Yay.
Well done.
Okay, we'll recess to closed session. Thank you all for coming.